Good morning and welcome to our 46th weekly webcast. It's hard to believe it's been 46 weeks in a row so far. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. And so the way it works is you can ask me anything. This is an AMA, ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, personal questions, career questions, questions about videography. I have a videography course coming out very soon. I have a YouTube course coming out very soon. Also have an MBA Degree Program coming out soon. So you can ask me about those topics or anything else. And the call never ends until there's no more questions. And so I answer the questions in the order in which I receive them. So if I don't answer your question, if I miss it or I don't answer it properly, then please put me on the spot to answer it again. And again, the call never ends until I've answered all questions. Now, it is July 4th. I'm available all day long for this call, but I know a lot of people will want to jump off early. And so I completely understand, but just know I'm here for you. Thanks. All right. The first question is from Pregs. How are you? How do you manage loads of emails daily? I have an automatic reply that says, thanks for your email. However, if I don't reply to you within 24 hours, please call me or resend. Is that professional? You know, I think that's okay. It's okay. I mean, I have an auto response as well for a couple of my accounts. You get to the point where you just can't answer all emails. And email kind of died as a communication platform about a decade ago. It's not really that efficient. So what I do is I have my emails color coded. So if it's from certain people that are on my VIP list, then what I do is I know I have to get back to them, or at least I'll pay attention to that. And then what I'll do also is if I see an email, and usually I look at an email only once really quickly, and I just read the subject line. That's it. Because I get lots of emails. I'm sure you do as well. But if it's something that has to be done, I try and do it right away, or I'll flag it. And you can flag it in all major email applications on your iPhone, Android handset, Outlook, etc. And then at the end of the day, my last calendar entry before the day is done is check flagged emails. And I'll go through it that way. So that's probably the best thing I would recommend to do in terms of trying to filter through all of your emails. And it's getting to be such a problem getting on email lists. Even with GPDR, people are still signing all of us up to many different email lists. So what I do is this. I do a search once a week on my inbox for the word unsubscribe. And then, of course, I unsubscribe to all those emails if possible. And some people will still keep sending me emails, at which point I put it in the spam filter or mark it as junk, and I never hear from them again. And I found even with LinkedIn, a lot of times people are trying to sell me something. I don't mind if people reach out to me for advice, my humble thoughts on advice regarding the courses I teach. But a lot of the times people will be really aggressive and they'll say, I'm just forwarding this message to you again because I haven't heard back from you, and they're trying to sell a product, in which case I'll just block them. I feel bad blocking messages, but sometimes you have to. Otherwise, you know what? You're drinking out of a fire hose and you just can't keep up. And there's a communication breakdown and you miss the most important messages if you don't filter them properly. All right. Next up, we've got, and if that did not answer your question properly, please let me know. Hope you guys like the new setup here. This is for one of the lectures in my videography course, which is coming out soon. And I changed the background for every single lecture as well. I've had fun playing with lights as well. If anybody has questions on how I did all this, please let me know, because I've made every mistake there is to make in videography and with teaching online. And so when one teaches to learn, and I'd love for you to learn from my many mistakes. Thank you. Okay, good morning to you too, Akil. Thank you. A huge business magnet sent me a LinkedIn request. I accepted it. How do I know it's not a fake account? And if it's legit, how do I connect and message with him? That's a great question. So I've had high profile people reach out to me and connect with me as well. And immediately I respond and I send a message and they just ignore me. It's the weirdest thing. And I think sometimes what happens is they'll get suggestions on LinkedIn in terms of who you should connect with. And people will just kind of connect with tons of people as a way to grow their social media presence. But what you can do to make sure that this is the real deal, the real person, is you can just look at who they follow, look at how many subscribers they have, look at articles they've published in the past and the thousands of likes they've gotten. And if you don't see all this stuff on LinkedIn, then there's a good chance that that's a bogus account. All right. Next up is Pregs is saying, hello, Chris. Hope all is well. Thank you. Same to you. I would love to know how you facilitate team meetings in general. For example, do you do working meetings where tasks are done on the fly? Would love to know your methods. Yeah, thanks for the question. So I really don't like meetings. I set them up if it's really, really important. My employees will call me right away or text me if they need something. I do a weekly call with Wrigley every Monday at 10 a.m. But that's really it. And I find that what happens is, especially in big companies, there's just too many meetings. And a lot of times it's basically empire building for certain people trying to, rise through the ranks, so to speak. But if I do have meetings, what I do is I send a message ahead of time and I say what we're going to discuss, issues, location, and that sort of thing. And if it's a webcast like this, the replay as well. And then what I try to do is go through the agenda as quickly as possible. I listen to my team as much as possible, all the time actually. Good leaders, and I'm not saying I'm a good leader, but good leaders listen more than talk. And then at the end of the meeting, I say, any other issues and what are the next steps? And then we move on and that's it. Kind of like when you have a brand new employee and you're trying to manage them, there's got to be structure. And I give all my employees a lot of autonomy and I help them grow always. But a lot of the times when I have newer employees that are younger, that have just started working for the first time, I'll have them send me an email every day with 3 topics. Topic number 1 is, what did you accomplish today? Topic number 2 is, what are you going to accomplish tomorrow? And topic number 3 is issues or questions for me. And then once they start performing, then I basically step back completely and I give them as much autonomy as possible. But I would say in general with meetings, try to, if you have them, keep them as brief as possible and don't set up that many. It's a disaster. I have friends that work at very big tech companies and sometimes they'll get on conference calls and the topic of that conference call is literally, when are we going to have our next meeting? It gets ridiculous. So if you have any other questions about that, please let me know. But I always believe that less is more. Thank you. All right. All right. And Nikhil is saying, why is your setup going more and more minimal? Damn, is it because of the upcoming YouTube course? No, thanks for that question, Nikhil. So I'm just, I'm experimenting. I'm trying to push the goalpost out. I make mistakes, a lot of mistakes. Like when I was in Florida and I did that webcast. Actually, I did a webcast in Florida using a 4K webcam, and I made the mistake of thinking 4K must mean great quality. It doesn't. What really matters is the image sensor. And if you'd like, I can talk about the image sensor in a lot of detail, and I have a bunch of cameras here I can take apart right away for you. I can show you mirrorless cameras, DSLR cameras, etc. And I'm just preparing for a course I have coming out very, very soon called the Complete Video Course and the Complete YouTube Course as well. And so I change the backdrop quite often. And it's tough for you to see, but up top I've got 3 rolls of paper, a black roll, a white roll, and a green roll. And I have a gray roll in the garage. And behind that black roll there is a pretend brick wall, which I bought for next to nothing from a hardware store. And even the floor, you can kind of see in the corners there by the drapes. It's just very cheap cardboard flooring, which costs $10 per 8x4 foot panel. So anyway, I'm mixing it up a lot. And I've also got, check this out here. I'm trying to add as much value as I can here. I've got this set up here for now for the first time so that when I show you products, and I'm getting ready for the MBA degree program, whenever I show you something, we can look at it together right here. And so I've got one of my C300 cameras actually hanging down from the ceiling here. And if anybody has additional questions on how I set all this stuff up, please let me know. But I've got like bars hanging from the ceiling. Each one has 2 bolts in the ceiling, which can hold about 300 pounds each. So anyway, I could nerd out forever. This is your call. This is your time, all of you. You're my students and you're the customer, and the customer's always right. So I'll answer any questions you might have on this topic, or criticize me, please, on this if you don't like the background. It helps when you give feedback. And if you like the new setup, click the like button if you want to, please. Thank you. All right. Next up is, damn it, I hate when it jumps. Is Nick. Nick from Georgia, the country of Georgia. How are you? Nick is saying, hey, Chris, good morning. How are you? Happy 4th of July. The new lights are dope. Thank you. I appreciate that, Nick. That's awesome. It's awesome coming from you. And so Nick and I have been going back and forth, and he's opened up about this in the call as well, about how in his country they want him to do military service. And one of the ways to get out of military service, and if this applies to anybody else in this call, please let me know because I want to humbly help. One of the ways to get out of military service is to take an online degree program. And I have an MBA degree program. You can go to my website to read the FAQs, frequently asked questions. My web address is harounventures.com. Thank you. And happy July 4th to you as well. And thanks for saying that. And happy belated July 1st for all of my Canadian people. Represents. See, we beat America to the punch by 3 days. Canada always comes first. All right. Next up is Josh. Josh, how are you? Hi, Chris. I nearly finished my MBA. Would you say your MBA really is just as good? Could I learn something new from your MBA course that I didn't get already? Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Josh. Appreciate that. And so Josh is referring to an MBA degree program that I have, which is coming out very soon, later on this year. And you can go to my website to learn more details about the MBA degree program. Go to harounventures.com. And I think it's additive. And we have had a bunch of people actually that have applied from large business schools that already have MBAs, including one dude that went to Thunderbird, which I think is a great MBA school in Michigan. And it's quite different, my MBA degree program, from a traditional MBA because, and I have an MBA as well from a traditional school. But what I found is that when I graduated from business school, some of the most important practical concepts weren't taught in business school, and I was stuck. In business school, they did not teach me how to interview. They didn't teach me how to sell anything. They didn't teach me how to present. They didn't teach me how to manage my own money. They taught me how to manage other people's money. And my friends and I, when we graduated from business school, it was kind of a joke because after a while, once we saved a bit of money, and it took me until my 30s to buy a place, we all called our parents and said, Mom, Dad, how does a mortgage work? And so some of the most important skill sets, they just don't teach you in business schools. And so I wrote a book, actually, that you might want to check out. It's called 101 Crucial Lessons that they don't teach you in business school. And it's actually kind of the crux of my thought process on why I wanted to do this degree anyway. And in this book, every time I met with somebody very successful in business, what I would do is I'd ask them for advice, like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, etc. And I wrote down a lot of the advice from them in very short chapters, like thinking differently, sales best practices, risk-taking, only the paranoid survive, only take advice from successful people, legal stuff, management best practices, navigating corporate politics, goal setting, etc. It's all in here. And I pride myself on teaching things that, again, aren't taught in business school, and they don't teach you how to network either. And this is a free book you can get from my website at harounventures.com. Download it if you'd like to. I also teach you things like how to motivate people in business school. They don't teach you how to motivate employees. And so one of my courses is how to motivate employees. You get this book for free as well. And you can get this course on Udemy. And I also teach based on biohacks that I've learned over the years. And this is from one of my courses called 30-Day Challenge to a More Productive and Much Happier You. And so the bottom line is that a lot of the stuff that I teach in this MBA degree program is stuff that should be taught in business schools, but is not. I find that business schools are a little bit too theoretical to the extent that they discuss things like supply and demand graphs, etc., that you'll never use in the real world unless you're an economist or you want to be the Minister of Finance or European Central Bank chairperson, etc. So it's a practical MBA. It's definitely additive to the MBA that you already have. And I guarantee you that you'll learn a heck of a lot more, even within the first 1 or 2 months of it, or your money back. And the pricing point is ridiculously low at $499. And if you've taken my Udemy courses, for each course you've taken and completed, you get $10 off. So if you've taken 27 of my courses, for example, you get $270 off, which means that you get a 54% discount. And I guarantee you that you're going to learn more in this program than you will from traditional business schools. Is this program accredited? No. Why not? because I do not want to be subject to local governments or any governments for that matter tell me what I can and cannot teach. I don't want any bureaucracy or red tape from governments telling me what to teach my students, my customers. I will do whatever it takes to make you extraordinarily successful. I will walk through walls for you. And so to learn more about the program, just go to harounventures.com and you can sign up there if you want. Now, a lot of people have told me they don't have money for it, and that's okay. And don't tell me that, though, because I want you to apply first, and once you're accepted, then ask for a scholarship, and there will be plenty of scholarships. So you might be thinking, Chris, why are you even charging for this? Well, I want to charge a certain amount because I think people will take it very seriously if it costs something, kind of like a gym membership where you pay a minimal monthly fee for a decent gym. You know, if you pay for it, you'll actually go more often. And so, again, if you have additional questions, go to harounventures.com and click on the MBA Degree Program. And the way to apply is on my website, you write an essay. And it's 1,000 words or less. And in the essay, I want to know two things. Number one, why do you want an MBA? And number two, what is your perfect life in 10 years? And the reason I ask that is because I want to do something that's never been done before. I want to cater to this MBA program to you, the student, the customer. And I want to do whatever I humbly can to make your 10-year goals become a reality by customizing the curriculum for you. And so check out the FAQs on my website. And if you have additional questions that are not answered by the FAQ, you can either ask on this call or you can email admissions@harounventures.com and somebody on my team will get back to you very quickly. And thank you. All right, I got to get some coffee, man. My bulletproof coffee. That's what I drink. It's been 4 years I've been drinking this stuff now. And I want to teach you all a quick hack, okay? I want to teach you how to interview using an incredible secret weapon. All right. So whenever you're doing a Skype interview or any business meeting for that matter, you've got one chance to make a first impression. And that's why my complete video course, which I'm teaching with Steve Washer, who's my mentor, he's awesome. He's my Yoda. Love you, Steve. I'm teaching you how to make an awesome, badass background as well. And I'm teaching you how to do all this stuff on the cheap, but I want to show you something that's going to help you with your interviews. Okay. There's something in this box, something magical, something amazing. And imagine if you could interview, and while you're interviewing, you could actually read stuff on the screen to help you interview. Okay. And so if you interviewed and you created, say, I don't know, a 35-page PowerPoint presentation, and you put up a mirror, which I have right now, okay, you can actually connect what I'm going to show you in here to your laptop to the computer so you can read through slides in PowerPoint. I'm going to show you how I did it. Okay. So what I did was, and I'll explain why I have all this crazy stuff here in a minute, and I'll explain how to build this even. All right, so right here, I have got clickers, okay? And one says next slide, one says previous slide. And you hook this up to your laptop, okay? It's loud though, it's loud. And so what I did was I made this box. I had leftover foam, and I'll show you a top-down view in a second, okay? But I had leftover foam. And so what I did for my walls was I took the scraps and I put foam all around here, okay? And then on the bottom, what I did was I put these things here so it doesn't flip on the ground when I'm clicking this. And the reason I have this box is to make sure the clicking noises are not heard, right? And I've actually started teaching courses this way, and you have no idea. I'm actually just reading by clicking these. It's amazing. It's so fun. I'm a nerd. I get it. So I bought these little things off Amazon, and they're made for people that have dogs that jump on couches, and the couch hits the wall, which ruins the wall. So I just stuck this on here. I only had 3. That's why I cut this one in half. And then on the top of the box, in order to muffle the sound, what I did was I made this, right? And this is just a piece of wood, and I put this on it here, and I put 2 little trap doors, okay, in case I want to put my left foot in. You put your right foot in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey. Too early for that, sorry. That's called dad humor. But if you want, you can actually just put 1 foot in here. Okay. And so what it does again is it muffles the noise. Now, let me show you a top-down view of this, and I'll teach you how to make it. Just get any crate you want, buy that foam stuff on Amazon, search for audio foam or any store online, and then you can check this out as well. This product's a bit pricey. I think you can get cheaper alternatives. I don't want to even give you the model number or name because I think it's a little bit expensive, but you can find something similar to it. Okay. Just look for foot pedals. And I do it with lights as well. Sometimes I'll change lights with pedals I put in there. All right, let's look at a top-down perspective now. So again, this is the product here. And you click, sorry about the glare there, you click with your feet, previous, next, and I'm going to put it in the box in a minute and show you how the box makes it quieter. Okay, so let me put this aside. Let me show you what's inside the box, then I'll show you the lid. So this here is the box, right? I've got super wide angle in here, a little not enough wide angle though. But here's the outside of the box, okay? And again, on the bottom of the box, all I did was I put these things here. I just glued it with a Loctite spray adhesive so it doesn't slip on the ground. And then on the inside of the box, all I did was I put this foam stuff. And so I did it because when you put this inside here and you click, the sound is deadened. Okay, so you can still hear this, but watch this when I put this on the top. And I'm going to flip this upside and I'll put it on in a second. This is the top of the box, which has lids that open for my feet. Okay, so that's for one foot. That's for the other foot. So now I'm going to just click on one of them. It's a little bit quieter. Yeah, it's quieter. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to full screen mode, and I'm actually going to put it underneath. It's a big box. I'm going to put it underneath my table now and show you the sound with and without the box. So let me do without the box first to see if you can hear it. Now this is this here is a pretty high-end microphone here, so you don't hear much background noise, but you might hear. Okay, now I'm going to put it in this box. Okay. All right, goes inside the box. Then I'm going to put the lid on the box right here. All right, and then I'm going to prop open. I'm just going to put my right foot in for this little demonstration. And I put a lot of pedals in this box as well for lights. I don't have them connected right now, but they are here. I'm doing it on my course. So I'm going to click now. It's much less noticeable, right? Now I'm clicking forward and back and forward and back. So it's pretty cool. I'm clicking. A lot less noticeable. Not perfect, but a lot less noticeable. So anyway, that's kind of a little hack that I put together. And it's great because imagine if you're on a business call and you know, one of your clients is asking you for feedback. Or thoughts on a product. Imagine if you had a presentation in front of you that you could read. Okay, you just look through the two-way mirror for your teleprompter. Anyway, I think it's a pretty powerful weapon to have in your arsenal, so to speak. And if anybody has questions about how I put that together, please let me know. Or if you have additional ideas on how to ace an interview or an online business meeting, using a similar hack like this, let me know, and thanks as always. All right. And Akil has a question. Sir, I'm stuck in completing my application for your December MBA program. How do I complete it? I'm having a hard time completing it. I don't know what to include and what not. I'm stuck, sir. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Akil. So let's go together just really quickly here to my website, and we'll check it out here. So you go to my my website, harounventures.com. I'll make this a bit bigger here. Then you click here on MBA Degree Program, okay? And what you do is all you have to do for the application is just your name. And then your email. This social media stuff down here is optional. And then you're going to enter in a personal statement. And the personal statement, I'll blow this up for you, make it bigger. In under 1,000 words, just write down, you know, why do you want to get an MBA? Okay. And then number 2, what's your perfect life in 10 years? And it doesn't have to be 1,000 words. You can make it a lot fewer words, fewer words. I can hear my mom correcting me right now. Love you, Mom, if you're watching, which she probably isn't. But you can write it 100 words if you want, okay? And you've got until, I think, August 31st for early admissions to apply. And we've received just a ton of applications. I don't think I'm going to do a mass email to promote it because we've gotten so many inbounds right now. And I want to keep the first class relatively small. So just write down what your goals are in 10 years. I'm sure you can come up with some. And just document them here if you want to. You don't have to tell me anything proprietary, but the reason I asked that question there is because I want to humbly help you if I can make your goals become a reality. Yeah. All right. Next up is Mr. Wright. What is up? What's up, Mr. W? How are you? Okay. Now Pregs is saying, Pregs is asking a question. Wow, this is episode 46. Congrats. You need to have a rewards program soon. By the way, your desk is too neat and too tidy. Well done. Thank you. Dude, you have no idea how messy this next room is here. Okay. This is one of my storage rooms. It's a disaster, right? And so, yeah, it is just awful. Like this is the simplistic, neat part of my studio, but it is disaster. And I find that when you're filming, and I'm going to teach all of you in the MBA degree. Oh, by the way, don't pay for my complete video course if you're taking my MBA degree program. I mean, you can if you want, but I'm going to give it to you for free in the MBA degree program. And the first class that enters will get all my courses forever for free. That's right, forever for free. And I'm just doing this just for the first class because it is a bit of an experiment, and I'm going to make mistakes. I promise you, you're going to love it. If you don't, you get your money back. But it doesn't seem fair because it's the first class not to give a little sweetener or something extra. Yeah. All right. A clean desk is a happy desk. And every day when I used to work for other people, when I would leave the trading floor at Goldman or my cube at Accenture, I would clean everything up because I loved coming into work in the morning, have everything clean, nothing on my desk. I'm not going to show you the floor. Okay, it's a disaster. Just kidding, sort of. Oh, thanks, DL. Happy 4th to you as well. And Mr. Wright is saying, I dig this setup, very relaxed. Thank you. I played around with a lot of lighting, yeah, if you want, I can show you which lights I use. They're actually very cheap. Anybody can do this setup here. Everything you see here is dirt cheap. Even the curtains are cheap. The only thing that's a little bit pricey is the desk. It's made by a company called Fully, and you can make it go up and down. Oh, you're going to see the mess under the desk. I got to put that back down. There we go. All right, great, fun. Next up, Akil is saying, what are your thoughts on mindfulness? I just started using an app called Mindspace. I don't know what that is. Sorry, is mindfulness? I think I might. I have so many apps I can't keep track, but I have an app and I'll show you here in real time. I made an overhead camera view here. I have an app somewhere which helps me with. Yeah, that's not the one. It helps me to meditate. I think it's called Calm, CALM. Calm. There we go. Yeah. This one here. So I use this, and it says, "Let's take a deep breath." And it's got, oh my God, listen to that music. How soothing is that, eh? Isn't that wonderful? Wow. Now I'm relaxed, man. So it's called Calm. Download it if you want. I don't pay for any of the in-app purchases, but you can try that out. And I promise you, it'll put you in just a relaxed state of mind. All right, let me go back to Big Chris here. Isn't that relaxing? Wow. All right. Now, let me put this down. Yeah, but I haven't heard of that other one, Mindfulness. If you want, you can share more details on that, as well as the app called Mindspace, and I can give you my humble thoughts if I have anything value to add. Okay. All right, Danios from Canada saying, good morning, Chris. Excited to be here as I was away for some time. I hope you had a great trip. Danios is from the great province of Alberta, Canada. And there's a beautiful place there that you all have to visit. It's called Banfifa. There's 2 F's. Say it with me, Banfifa. Right. And actually, I got to show you guys, right? You guys got to, it's the biggest secret in Canada. And I don't understand why more people don't go here. So it is gorgeous. Let's go there together. Let's go to Banfifa together. Okay. So Banfifa. Here it is here. Look at this. And we stayed there at the hotel, the Fairmont, a couple of years ago. Look how gorgeous that is. Dude, this is not Photoshop. This here is real. You know, like Picasso said, everything you can imagine is real. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? You got to do it. You got to do it. And for those of you that are in the United States, what you do is you can actually you fly into Vancouver, and then you take a flight you transfer to Calgary, and then you rent a car, and it's an 1.5-hour drive to Banfifa. There's 2 F's, remember. And in Canada we pronounce it Banfifa. It's not Banff. Okay. All right, let's see what's next here. All right, and Danios is saying, I'd like to let you know that I applied to your MBA program a few days ago. Very excited about it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to teach it in such a groundbreaking way, humbly, so that it's edutainment. And I've got a green screen behind me. Actually, all I have to do is pull it down. I've got 10 cameras. I've got multiple sliders, jibs, cheap stuff too, because I'm teaching how to use the cheaper stuff on my my complete video course. And what's most important is not the price of the equipment, by the way, it's the person that operates it, right? And for years I was terrified to get out of auto mode, and now I love manual mode on my DSLR and all my cameras. And I teach you exactly how to do this in my my MBA degree program, as well as the complete video course, which is coming out soon. And the reason why I want to teach all this stuff in my MBA degree program is because you are a brand, and you can leverage yourself and promote yourself using YouTube. And I'm going to teach you how to set up all the equipment from scratch, and it's affordable too, the stuff I'm going to show you. And social media, a big component of it is video. I believe in the startup of you, the customer, the student. And I want to make you a rock star by helping you make a production studio like this. Because in the future, and the future is kind of now, most business meetings will be online. And I want to give you a leg up on the competition, especially when it comes to a background like this, which is cheap and easy to make. These are cheap lights, cheap background, etc. And it's important to have a badass or dope background, as the younger generation says, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. All right. And Adrian is saying, happy 4th, Chris Haroun. Thank you very much, Adrian, and same to you. Same to you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Lawrence is saying, happy 4th. Hope you're well. Thanks, Lawrence. Same to you, buddy. Same to you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So Alex P. I'm thinking about Alex P. Keaton now from Family Ties. That was a Michael J. Fox Canadian represent from the 80s. Alex P. is saying, what is your view on peer-to-peer lending banks in fintech? Is it relevant for the market? Do you like it or you do not like it? Yeah, thanks. So I actually like the concept. I know about a lending club, and I know that they did well. They had kind of a bit of a scandal recently. But I wouldn't participate unless those companies and the industry in your country are regulated by the government. There's just too much of an opportunity to get scammed. Okay, so make sure it's a reputable company. You can go to Better Business Bureau's website, just Google it, to see if that company is reputable or not, and see if there's complaints on that company. But I do love the concept a lot, and I think that we're going to see a growth in the micro-lending market longer term. And I have friends that are trying to start fintech companies in Africa, and Africa is the final frontier. It's a really, really exciting continent to get involved with, not just for the commodities side in Middle Africa, but also for entrepreneurs. I mean, there's got to be a gazillion awesome business models coming out of Africa, and a lot of people are looking at microtransactions or macro lending to invest in the wonderful content of Africa. And my dad's from Egypt, which is in Africa. Of course, I've never been there. Never been to Africa. I'd love to go. But I love the concept. But just make sure that it's the company that you're considering partnering with, investing in, or using has great feedback, and that the industry is regulated. Okay, there's just too much of an opportunity to get scammed. And I love the whole Kickstarter market as well. The whole Kickstarter campaign. It's fun. It's fun, and it's anyway. I love anything that will help you bypass big banks or big bureaucracies. All right. Next up is Nick is saying, show us how you did the new setup and lights. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. What I've got here is this here is a Shure microphone. It's Shure SM7B. You can use a Blue Yeti if you want to. I think Blue Yetis are a bit better than the Shures. The Shure volume quality is amazing. We got to be close to it. Blue Yetis, you can kind of be far away if you want to. So in terms of the lights, what I'll do is let me just go grab a light. I'll be right back. I'll show you. So there's a great company, I think, based in the Bay Area called GVM, and they make amazing lights. And GVM stands for Great Video Maker. And so I got a bunch of GVM lights. Okay, and what you can do is, there's no battery in this one. Sorry, it's plugged into the cable. You can actually, I'll plug it in. Hold on a second. What you can do, I'm trying to get back to the mic here. I'll use a lavalier next week. What you can do is you can change the color and the brightness, right? And then you've got rechargeable batteries as well that you can buy for them. There we go. So, and you can change the color. I had it on pink here, which is a hue of 340. And that's important to mention hue, which means color, of 340, because I had to put it on that one as well, the other side, to make it consistent. And then you can change the brightness as well. So they're pretty cool. I highly recommend this product. They're not that pricey either. You get cheaper alternatives, but I don't mind paying up a bit for quality. All right, and so I've got one on both sides, and I put curtains up, and it's just a wall behind me, but I just put these cheap curtains from Amazon there just to, I don't know, kind of add a cool effect. And then these lights here, these are just halogen lights, or pardon me, these are old school vintage lights that I got, and they're very hot. If you're going to do this, please make sure that you have a fire extinguisher close by. Okay. Aside from that, the shelves here, I bought this shelving unit on Amazon. I'm buying a similar one for next week's webcast, going that side from eBay. It's $140. The one on eBay, it's a lot cheaper than buying it brand new. I don't mind buying used furniture because it has this nice rustic look to it and the old pipes. And so what I did here was I actually made, I have Jenga. I am 7. Actually, I'm 7.5. I have Jenga. My kids have Jenga. And all I did was I had one of those Brother printing machines, and I printed out all these things and just stuck them here. And what you have here is you have maybe 100 or so little Jenga bricks, probably fewer than that actually, with different concepts I teach you just in the first section of the complete Videography course coming out soon on Udemy. And then I put just vintage equipment in the background there, and that's it. Now, in terms of the lighting back there, the lights back there actually, I'll show you the package. It's really cool. All right. Now, for the lights back there, the product is actually, it's called Good Earth Lighting. It's LED, and it comes with this remote as well, and it's quite cheap as well. I bought it from Home Depot. You get it from Lowe's as well, or any great hardware store online. The issue is this, though. Please be careful. When you do, I'm not going to change them now, because what happens is LED lights, the secret behind LED lights, and one of the reasons why a lot of people have them is, unlike this old light bulb, which is always on, light is always coming out of it when it's on, these LEDs here, and all LED lights, are not always on. They're actually flashing a lot, and that's how they keep the pricing point lower. Okay, and so you and I, if I kept this at different levels, we'd see it flashing too much. But it's kind of like when you see a movie at 24 frames per second, meaning 24 pictures per second, which is what movies are made at. It has this nice kind of fade to it. But if you went down to 18 frames per second, which is, if you watch the Kennedy assassination video, it was shot at a lower frame rate. It kind of looks really jerky. So be careful with that if you're going to use this in the background for video. Live webcast too. Then what I did is there's something called a cinefoil. And cinefoil is like aluminum or aluminium for my British viewers today. It's like aluminum foil, and it's black. And I wrapped it. You can't see, but I wrapped it on parts of the strips. You couldn't see it in between the shelves. It's just a filmmaker's hack for hiding light. Make sure, though, that you have a fire hydrant close by it. And these are LED lights, so they're relatively safe. Aside from that, I think I've explained pretty much everything. I don't have another camera setup that I can spin around. I wish I did. I'm sorry, but I'd show you the walls and the ceiling and everything else that I put together in here. I have tons of pipes everywhere and that I put up there with my buddy Matt Lacousse, who works with me now. And then I have another camera hanger. This is a C300 hanging down. And then I have another C300 Mark II. This is a 4K camera there. And for those of you watching the broadcast, you can go to that little gear icon that looks like this. Okay. And then what you can do is you can actually change it so you can watch it in a resolution called 14:4, which is way better than 1080p. Okay, and it's the highest quality broadcast you could do on YouTube right now. But anyway, check it out if you want to. All right. And that stuff falls over all the time. And if you have any additional questions about this setup, please let me know. And what I can't show you because I don't have another camera setup is I've got 5 massive lights here they're just beaming down on this table. And I did this because in the complete videography course, I've got a section on unboxing. And so this is super bright. And I'm actually unboxing about 100 products. But when I show you when I unbox a product, and the guy Unbox Therapy in Toronto, actually, he has a similar setup. He's got these massive lights. But if I wanted to show you, how these products work in my courses and for my MBA degree program, it's just great to have this camera right here, and I can nerd out and talk about f-stop and all that other stuff if anybody is interested in that sort of thing. And I have it set up. Last thing I'll say about this, I am a nerd. I got to nerd out and show you this. Last thing I'll say about this is I actually have set up here. I can actually go directly to my camera and control them from here. So I'll hook up to my C300 Mark II here. Okay, it's just Wi-Fi. And once that's connected, then what I can do is I can just type in the IP address of my camera. And then and I can look at it here. I'll go to live view, and this is what you see here. And then I can actually change the exposure as well. So if I wanted to to let in more light, I can mess around with the ISO, right? But the problem is with the ISO, when you make it too high, is it gets really grainy in the background, right? You'll probably notice that on your cameras when you use a high ISO. It just gets too bright. I can't remember what I had it at. 400, I think. I think I did. I don't even remember. So anyway, if anybody has questions about that, let me know. Oh, I got to go a little bit brighter. Hold on one second. So sorry. A little bit brighter. We're going to go to 500, I think. Yeah, that should be good. Yeah, much better. Much better. All right. And let's go back to bigger Chris mode. There I am. And if you guys want me to make it a bit brighter, let me know. Please. I just want to get the resolution perfect for you. All right. Next up is Lawrence has a question. Can you talk about how interest rates interact with bond yields as well as bond issuance? How does that affect pricing and spreads? Yeah. So what I recommend doing is go to my YouTube vlog and do a search on the word interest, and then interest rates will come up. And I did a very long vlog on that. And it's called The Idiot's Guide to Interest Rates, as explained by an idiot. And I had a wig on and everything. I made a fool of myself. But check that out if you get a chance for the long version. I'll give you the short version right now, though. Okay, so what happens is this. When governments want to raise money to build bridges or walls or declare war, God forbid, what they do is they don't have enough money from tax revenues, right? A government's not run like a business most of the time. And so in order to raise money to build bridges or walls or God forbid, declare war, what they do is they issue bonds, okay? And let's say the interest rate right now is 2%, just in general, it's 2%. And the government wants to raise money. Well, the government can basically say, you know what, dude, I'm gonna let you buy this bond, okay? And you can invest in this piece of paper. But I know that interest rates are 2%, and you're thinking, I'm not going to invest in that bond because I can get 2% elsewhere. Well, this is 8%, right? And I'm totally exaggerating. This yield is 8%, okay? And I'm going to give it to you at about $90, okay? And then a year from now, I'll buy it back from you at $90 plus 8%. So that's $7.2, so $97.2. Okay. And so what happened there was this. You, the consumer, bought the bond from me, the government, and you gave me your money, and that money is out of circulation. I use some of it to, do whatever I want to do with it, like build a bridge, but a lot of it is out of circulation. Now, all of a sudden, there's less money out there, and we know about supply and demand, right? Anything that's hard to buy or you can't find it that many places, the price goes up if demand stays constant. And so now that there's less money out there, what happens is the price of money goes up. Interest rates go up. Okay. And then a year later, whatever, when the government buys that bond back from you, then what happens is there's much more money out there circulating. Then interest rates go down because the supply of money goes down, which means the interest rate or demand for money, or interest rates go down as well. Okay. And again, you can watch that Idiot's Guide to Interest Rates as explained by an idiot if you want more detail on that. And so that should explain bond yields, right, which is another word for interest rates. Okay, and sometimes they'll sweeten these bonds by not just price them at a discount and having them mature 8% higher, which was our hypothetical example of the $90 bond, which matured a year later for $97.20, which is an 8% return. Sometimes they'll sweeten them with not only selling them at a discount, but also providing you with coupon bonds, and coupons are kind of like dividends as well. So anyway, that's bond yields in a nutshell. Now, in terms of spreads, I think what you're alluding to is how can we tell, what a bond should be priced at relative to other bonds? Well, there's something called the yield curve. And the yield curve basically, what it does, it maps out on one axis. I'll have a pen next week so I can write here and show you how it works. The yield curve basically has time on this axis and then interest rate on this axis, and usually looks like that, right? Basically, because interest rates will be higher in the future, it can't get any lower. And if people think interest rates will be lower, then you've got an inverted yield curve, okay? But it usually looks like this. And the government, you can go to government websites in the United States and map out the yield curve. And I did this for you in my course on Udemy called the Entire MBA One Course. And so you've got a yield curve, and that curve is used for you to look at to say, okay, if I invest in a 6-month bond, I get this yield. If I invest in a 30-year treasury, I get that yield. Okay, it looks like this. Now, what about other companies that are more risk than the U.S. government? Companies issue bonds. Well, what they'll do is companies will look at that yield curve and they'll say, okay, we'll issue it at a premium, right? And so that curve for a company will be higher. Okay, so IBM will be up here. And then a really risky company that issues bonds, they issue what are called high yield bonds or junk bonds, as Michael Milken called them back in the 90s or 80s when he pioneered that sector. And the yields will be much higher, much, much higher. Okay, so anyway, that's yields and the yield curve and interest rates and bonds in a nutshell, and spreads as well. If you have additional questions about that, please let me know. And please check out that video that I mentioned on YouTube on interest rates that I put together several months ago, as it goes into much more detail. Thanks. All right, Akil is saying, did you invest in the Indian stock market? How was your experience? And what stocks did you invest in? Do you still hold Indian stocks? Yeah, I invest a lot in the Indian market on the Sensex. And the Sensex, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is kind of like the Dow Industrials or the S&P 500. And so I invested in mostly tech stocks because I did a lot of tech, and also cyclicals. So I invested in Satyam, Infosys, Wipro, and then I also invest, and that's on the tech side. And then on the cyclical side, I invested in Mahindra. Okay, I invested in Tata Motor. I invested in Crompton and Greaves, which is an engineering service company similar to what we have in America, a firm called Foster Wheeler, or in Europe they have ABB, right? Engineering construction company. So that's Crompton and Greaves. And I invested in a bunch of other companies as well in India. I can't remember off the top of my head, but my experience was great. I did quite well, just because there was incredible growth there, especially, about 10 or 15 years ago when there was the craze for outsourcing, and Satyam, Infosys, et cetera, were Sensex darlings. So they did quite well. I loved investing in the ones that had local listings in America, meaning ADRs, American Depository Receipts, because companies can list on multiple markets. And I like that because they had to file their financials on sec.gov, and it just provided a little bit more, disclosure for me to read up on those companies. All right. And Adrian is saying, hey, Chris, what do you think we are on the S-curve of cryptocurrency adoption? So I still think we're in the initial stages. It's still very early. It's like the wild, wild west. If you think about it, there was a land grab in America, which meant that a lot of people came over from Europe hundreds of years ago, and there was this saying, "Move west, young man," and people would move west, and there was a race to get land, and there wasn't that much infrastructure at that time. So there was all these people like Jesse James and all these wild gunmen, and it was chaotic. And then what happened was, as the American economy grew, more structure was put in place, like police departments, fire departments, highways, etc. And there are parallels to cryptocurrencies, because with cryptocurrencies, I feel like we're in the the 1500s or 1600s or whatever it is in America, post 1492, when Columbus apparently founded America. So I think we're in the early stages, but with the early stages means a lot of corruption. There's no government intervention. And the problem with cryptocurrencies, and you can learn all about this in my 24-hour course called the Complete Cryptocurrency Course. But the problem with cryptocurrencies is that they're not regulated by governments. They're regulated by the laws and physics of mathematics, right? They're just algorithms. That's all they are. And because there's no government regulation, there's a lot of scammers out there. And I believe a lot of people are going to go to jail. People you know of that talk about cryptocurrencies online. It's going to happen. It's going to happen because a lot of these people, they bought cryptos and they told everyone else to buy them, which drove the price up. Then they sold them. Then they told everyone else to sell them. Then they did it again. Rinse, lather, repeat. Fraud. So it's still the early stages for cryptocurrency in terms of the S-curve and adoption. And please take my course, the Complete Cryptocurrency Course. Okay. And I don't care if you get a refund within 30 days. I don't care. I just want you to be informed. And in my course, I created a 49-step process to analyze cryptocurrencies from scratch. And I humbly believe it's the most sophisticated framework in the world on cryptos. When I started making the course, I was bullish. I was positive on cryptocurrencies, like 7 out of 10 positive. And by the end of the course, I was only 3 out of 10. And I'm very transparent and open, but I realized through my extreme due diligence last year when I made that course, which took me 6 months, day and night, I realized that most people should stay away from cryptocurrencies. And if you're going to invest in cryptocurrencies, put 0.5% of your net worth at best in one crypto, because if it takes off, you're going to do exceptionally well. But there's only a handful of cryptos I think are worth investing in today. I'll never tell you which ones to buy or which stocks to buy or any investments to buy. I feel like I'm doing you all a disservice. I'll never give you a fish. I'll teach you how to fish, if I humbly can. And yes, I do own a couple cryptocurrencies. I'll tell you what they are, but I'm not going to talk about why or my target price in them. This is kind of signaling what I like, I guess, but I have to go there. So I own Bitcoin. Okay, and I have for a long time. I own Ethereum, or Ether, which is the cryptocurrency. It runs on the Ethereum platform. I own Litecoin, and I own another position in a smaller one. I don't know if I want to mention it, but I got it over Coinbase. You can probably guess what it is. And if you have additional questions on all this stuff, please let me know. And by the way, Coinbase is is a hot wallet. Like it's an online wallet that you can use to store your cryptocurrencies. You can also get cold storage wallets or offline wallets as well. And I have them in the other room, and I can bring them in and show them to you as well if you're curious about that. I have a ridiculous number of props for my complete cryptocurrency course. I can bore you with forever. But it's up to you guys to steer me that way in this webcast or not. Thank you. All right. Next question is, what are the sources for checking balance sheet, profit and loss, and cash flow statement, CFS items? Yeah, it's kind of a long question to answer. I recommend just taking my Introduction to Finance and Accounting course on Udemy, just because it will take me like literally 4.5 hours to talk about everything in detail. But I will say the most important thing let's move this over. Sorry. The most important thing on a financial statement to analyze if you're forecasting the future is revenue, which is sales. And so the top of your income statement is sales or revenue. That's why they call it what's your top line. The bottom of the income statement is earnings, the bottom line. That's why they call it the bottom line. So focus on sales and try to forecast what you think sales will be in the future when you're analyzing a company. And we'll do plenty of this in my MBA degree program. And the reason I say focus on sales is because almost every other item becomes just a percent of sales longer term, right? And it makes sense. Let's say let's say I'm modeling Nikon, which is listed on the Nikkei in Japan. And I'm modeling the future of Nikon. Well, the way I do it is I would probably model, which digital cameras are going to sell extraordinarily well over time on a revenue basis. Okay. And then I'd know that based on that revenue of digital camera sales, what the cost of manufacturing is for each product, how many people have to manufacture it labor-wise, et cetera, right, once I have sales. And I'd also look at, I'd look at some lithography equipment as well. I don't want to go off script too much, but companies like Nikon and Canon, some of their most profitable products actually aren't cameras. It's the lithography equipment they sell to Intel, because Intel needs very special pieces of glass to burn into their motherboards. They use this stuff. Anyway, so if you start with sales, then creating the rest of the financial statements is a lot easier. And of course, cash is important, but without sales, you don't get earnings. Without earnings, you can't get increase in cash flow, etc. All right. Trying to set this microphone up here. I had it top down for a while, but I found it was kind of distracting. Anyway, so hopefully this the sound quality is okay here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to fix it slightly. If you're curious, I've got a Manfrotto device here, or pole that I'm tightening. Manfrotto is a great Italian company. Mr. Manfrotto made, and then he sold it in 1989 to a big company, and they make great tripods as well. Okay, moving on. That was me buying time. All right. Hold on 1 second, guys. All right, good. So next up is Calipita is saying, hello, Chris. It's nice to see you. Awesome that your YouTube channel is growing over time. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And so it was almost a year ago that I basically started my YouTube channel. I vlogged one day, and I said, I'm going to vlog every day for the next 10 years for my students. And so we're about a year into it now. I've learned a lot. The quality is getting a lot better of my videos, etc. But thank you. It's been a fun ride. Yeah. All right. Next up is my buddy Jason from Australia. How are you? G'day, Chris. G'day, mate. Crocodile Dundee in my head. I'm so sorry. Happy 4th. I've started trying to read recent stock market ETF graphs, like a good book. You're quoting me. I love that. Thank you. ETF stands for Exchange Traded Funds. Okay. I noticed a distinct dip that ended mid-U.S. government shutdown. Thoughts? Okay, yeah. So what Jason is saying that he studied the chart of a certain exchange traded fund, an ETF, which basically is an amalgamation of lots of stocks in one fund to invest in. It's like a mutual fund, but cheaper, better. And he noticed that index, that ETF dropped when the government shut down in the United States. And the reason it did is because stock markets hate uncertainty. They hate uncertainty. And so when the government shut down, there's a lot of uncertainty. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Is the government, basically going to have to, shut down the police force? Which wouldn't happen. Is the government going to have to shut down toll booths on bridges so you can't cross them? This is going to be really disruptive to the U.S. economy. So the market hates uncertainty, and that's when you buy, when everyone else is freaking out. And that's why that ETF dipped, is because of uncertainty. And you always want to be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy, to quote the great sage of Omaha, Warren Buffett. And that's why, market hates uncertainty, and stock markets go up sometimes during wars. And I know it sounds crazy, but usually when there's a war, what happens is we know a war is coming, right? So let me go back to 2003. People kind of knew, just given all the saber rattling from Bush Jr., et cetera, and Rumsfeld and all the crazies, people knew that war was coming. The market was kind of worried. The market wasn't doing well. And the second the war started, and which was a short war, the second that the statue of Saddam fell, I think it was April or May of 2003, the market reached a bottom. Okay, so because that uncertainty was gone, right? The war was there. It happened. It was already priced in. All right. Balu is saying, "Hi, Chris. You're a fan from Bangalore, India." Thank you, Balu. And Balu, thank you very much for the for all the nice YouTube comments you've left over the past 6 months. I really do appreciate that. And actually, I actually have a person that I'm working with in Bangalore right now, helping me out with a couple of technology topics. Pretty cool. Anyway, thank you. All right, Akil is saying, how do I prepare a report effectively on a topic or an idea? How do I research it? When I go for an interview, I don't want an offer letter. I like to offer them something more for which they will hire me. Yeah. So what I recommend doing, Akil, is take my complete job course, because I teach you how to make many different one-page reports that you can bring to an interview to add value. And just know that going into any meeting in business, and I try to make my answers generic enough to apply to everybody in the webcast, but before you go into any meeting in business, just think to yourself, what motivates this person? How can I help this person? How can I add value? How can I give? Because it's prophetic and been true since the beginning of time. If you give, you will get back. You will receive. So you think about it, what motivates this person I'm going to meet with? Well, they're probably motivated by three things. They want to make more money, they want to get promoted faster, and they want to enjoy who they work with. So let's say they work in sales and you want to help them make more money. Well, as I explained in my complete job course, you can create a one-pager to give to them, which has 5 potential business leads for them, 5 potential customers based on people you know or people that you network to get to know. Okay. And if you want, you can actually read this networking book, which you can get for free on my website, harounventures.com. And you can network to get customers for that salesperson, for example. And so on that one pager, you'll just have 5 people that could be potential customers. Who does that? Nobody. How badly do you want that job? And there's also templates you can create for people that work in operations or HR or different departments. Again, go to the complete job course, and I walk you through in about 12 hours. How to prepare for an interview, prepare your resume, your LinkedIn profile, as well as how to prepare all these one-pagers, which will set you aside and give you a competitive advantage. All right. Next up is Akil is saying, oh no, I'm sorry, I read that one. Kartik is saying, can you tell me how a mortgage works? Yeah. So a mortgage basically is, it's basically a loan. It's a loan from a bank, right? And basically, it's a loan where you pay that back over, let's just say, 30 years. You can get 5-year, 15-year, 20-year, 30-year mortgages. Okay, and what happens is you get that loan from the bank, and there's 2 components to a mortgage. Okay, there's the interest you're paying and the principal. Okay. And so a lot of people get what are called interest-only mortgages, which is very dangerous because it's a loan. And what happens is as they pay up, they pay their monthly payments on that debt, they're not owning any more of their house. They're just paying interest, right? It's kind of a loser investment. But you can also get non-interest only mortgages. So let's say it's a 5% mortgage. That means that you have to pay 5% on that loan, every year until you own the house. Okay. And so over time, what happens is as you pay off this mortgage over, say, 30 years, you own a little bit more of your house or apartment, whatever it is, over time. And in some countries, like the United States, for example, you are allowed to deduct the interest on your mortgage. So let's say that your interest payments this year was $10,000 on your mortgage. And let's say that you made $100,000. And let's say the tax rate is 50%, just to keep it simple. So instead of you paying taxes on, paying $50,000 in taxes on the $100,000 you made, you're actually going to, and that's 50%, right? You're actually going to pay taxes on only $90,000, okay, not $100,000, because the $10,000 interest rate deduction you get. And so 50% tax on $90,000 is $45,000. And so by deducting the interest on your mortgage, which you can do in America on your primary residence, you're paying $5,000 less in tax in that hypothetical example. And most countries don't give you the opportunity to deduct the interest, but America, it's kind of like the American dream is to own a house, and if they got rid of that tax incentive, people would freak out. Now, and that's one of the reasons why, by the way, we had the crisis in 2008 in America, because people thought, well, you know what, I can write off the interest of my mortgage, so I'm just going to get a huge loan, and there's issues too, like the credit companies turned a blind eye when people got mortgages they shouldn't have been allowed to get. Now, Canada, where I'm from originally, you can't do that in Canada. You can't deduct the interest in your mortgage. And that's why Canada didn't have a horrific bubble burst in 2008 and 2009 like the United States did, because people didn't take as much risk when it came to buying houses or apartments, because you cannot deduct the interest on your mortgage in Canada or in most countries outside the US. And so I remember even when I was a kid, I remember in the early 80s when there was a Fed chairperson at the time named Volcker, who made interest rates close to 20% because inflation was crazy then. And I remember my dad, because of that, mortgage rates were high too. My dad was paying 20% on a mortgage when I was a kid, and he just started his company, and it was stressful times. He was great at managing the stress, but it was stressful. But again, the bottom line is that Canadians didn't really take on that much risk when it came to houses or apartments relative to the United States, because you can't write off the interest on your mortgage in the United States, or pardon me, in countries outside the United States. And if you have additional questions about that, please let me know. And thank you as always. Oh, one more quick thing. So if you're younger and you're in America, and I'm sure a lot of countries work like this, take my complete personal finance course because I explain this gem to you in more detail. But you can get your mom and dad to give you money to help you buy a house. And you can get your spouse's mom and dad as well. So that's 4 sources, money to help you buy a house. And they get a tax break, and you get a tax break based on that. So anyway, you might want to look into that. Take my complete personal finance course for more details on that. And in that course, I teach you how to save, protect, and make your money work for you. I provide you with over 100 ways to save a lot of money as well. All right. Next up is, how do you change the education system? What should the next generation learn? Like, as you always say, my kids might be the last generation to go to university. How can we restructure the entire system? Yeah. So I think what's going to happen in the future, and I gave a speech on this actually to a group of people, including the COO of Kraft the other day. And you can actually watch that speech if you want. You just go to my YouTube channel and there's a speech. I'll show you, because I'm going to give you a quick answer to your question now. And if you want more details, you can go directly to my YouTube channel to watch it. So let's go there together. For some reason, I feel like I have to be in that image. So if you go directly to, where is it again? Oh yeah, is it YouTube? Yeah, here, YouTube. Let's go here. So if you go to my YouTube channel, okay, what you can do is watch this video here. It's called Keynotes. It's called How to Fix Every Problem in the World. Okay, this is a speech I gave in Brazil a year ago for a big venture capital event. But I also gave the same speech a couple days ago here in San Francisco to the COO of Kraft and other people. So check that out. And if you want, you can also watch my TEDx talk where I talk about solving every problem in the world with education. But the bottom line is that I think that universities are going to have 2-year degrees instead of 4-year degrees in the future. Because I remember when I did my undergraduate degree, there was 13 hours of class a week. That's it. And really 4 years? Really? It was ridiculous. I think you can truncate that into half the time. I think you can eliminate a lot of the BS theory you learn in school that you can't apply in the real world in many cases. And you can supplement that with stuff like what I'm doing, online teaching, where you learn practical stuff, right? I mean, there's no reason getting taught business by somebody that, hasn't had experience in business. There's a lot of theoretical business teachers that don't teach you how to start a company. Like you'll find people on this call have an MBA. A lot of them do, I'm sure. Did they really teach you how to start a business in business school? No. So I think education is just going to be 2-year degrees instead of 4 years. I think it's going to be harder to get into the great schools like Stanford, Harvard, or Oxford, Cambridge, whatever. It's going to be harder because people are going to say, I'm not going to go to university. But you know what, though? I'll throw my application to Harvard, whatever, or Yale, or these other great schools. And if I get in, then I'll go. Otherwise, forget it. And a lot of American companies now do not require you to have a degree, which is a great thing. For example, Google, Facebook, IBM, Wells Fargo, Apple, and many more do not require you to have a university degree to work there anymore. So I think the bottom line is that we see online education supplementing offline, but I still think there's going to be a need to get some sort of post-secondary school education, or post-high school, I should say, education, because it also helps you mature. It helps you, like I was kind of immature. I don't know how to talk to girls. Still don't. When I went to university, I went to an all-boys school. That's why. It was like the movie Dead Poet Society. Ugh. But I learned how to socialize, in university. But I don't think I needed to do 4 years. I think 2 years would have sufficed. Mohammed is saying, hi, Chris, greetings from Kuwait. Much love to Kuwait. Thank you. Akila's question is saying, let's say I'm going to buy a stock. When I look at the stock market report, how long of its track record performance should I consider? 3 years before max, or just a few months? Yeah. So I don't think track record for a stock matters too much. I think what matters most is your ability to do deep due diligence and research on that company. You can take my complete financial analyst training course. It's 22 hours of how to analyze companies. But what I also recommend doing, though, is reading all the financial statements cover to cover. Okay, the annual report, the quarterly report. If the company just went public, you can read what's called the IPO prospectus, which is called the S1. So you can go to sec.gov and do a search on the ticker of any company to read their S1. And these are wonderful reports that people don't read. And usually whenever you try to raise money, if you're trying to go public or you're issuing a bond or whatever it is, you have to issue what's called an offering memorandum. And that's legal talk for a document that lists what the company does and what the risks are. You got to read the offering memorandum cover to cover before considering investing. Abdul is saying, hi, Chris, happy 4th of July. Same to you. Same to you, Abdul. Thank you. All right, next up, we've got, Abdul's got a question. Can you recommend certifications which I can add to my profile for MBA application process, as I have my bachelor's degree in engineering? Yeah, sure, no problem. You can take courses online on Udemy, and then you can add certificate of completion. A lot of people do this. It depends what you want to do, though. Like if you're technical, you can also get these technical certifications from Cisco if you're learning about networking, or Microsoft, the Microsoft Developer Network. You can get certifications saying that you understand certain programs and you've taken a Microsoft certification course. So you can check that out if you want to. If you're focusing in finance, you can take the CFA, which I think is fantastic. CFA stands for a Certified Financial Analyst Program. And if you want more details than that, I'm happy to provide you much more details as well. Aside from that, I don't think you need as many certifications as you think. I think the most important thing that they didn't teach you in business school is how to network, right? If you want something in life, you got to go get it. And read this book cover to cover. It's free. Go to my website, harounventures.com. It'll teach you everything you need to know about networking, so that you don't need to have too many certifications on your LinkedIn profile to get to where you want to be in life. All right, next up. What is meant by price to book ratio, price to sales ratio, and other related ratios? Yeah. So when you value a company, you always want to understand what people are paying for earnings, or for the entire company if they were to liquidate it, or for sales if the company is not profitable. And so the way to think of it is this. Okay, the numerator is the price of the company, the market cap of the company. All right, so a lot of companies that are publicly traded are quite big and have market caps over $100 billion. Okay, that's the price of the company. Then on the bottom is earnings. So we'll talk about price to earnings first. What is the net income of that entire company? Okay. And if you take the value of the company, the price meaning, divided by how much money the company makes, the earnings, then you understand how many times earnings people are going to pay for that company. So let's say that the company is trading at a price earnings ratio of 10 times, price divided by earnings, 10 times. That means for every $1 in earnings, which is the denominator, people are going to pay $10 for that stock. Okay, that's a price earnings ratio of 10 times. And usually what happens is if a company is growing very fast, it'll have a higher price earnings multiple. If a company is not growing that fast, it will have a low price earnings multiple. I'll talk about price to book and price to sales in a second. Let's just stick with price to earnings for now. So the average company on the stock market, historically speaking, trades at 15 times earnings in America. And that average company has earnings growing on average at 15%. So the price earnings ratio is 15 times and the growth rate is 15%. Now, if we take the price earnings ratio of 15 times and we divide it by the growth rate, so PE to G, or the PEG ratio, price earnings divided by growth, if we take that 15 times divided by 15% growth rate, that's a PEG, price to earnings growth ratio, of 1. Stay with me here. I'm going to add a little bit more logic. This will make sense. You'll have this aha moment in about 30 seconds. Now, if a company is growing at faster than 15%, you're probably going to want to pay more than 15 times earnings for it. So if a company is growing at, say, 30% earnings, then that company should trade at 30 times, okay? 30 times multiple. If a company is growing earnings at only 9%, then that company should only trade at 9 times earnings. So the PEG ratio on all three of those examples was 1, okay? The price earnings ratio of 15 was growing at 15%. The PEG there, price earnings to growth, was 1. The price earnings to growth ratio of the company growing at 30%, PE of 30 times divided by growth of 30%, is 1. The price earnings ratio of the company growing at 9%, with a PE of 9, was 1. Okay, that the PEG ratio in all three of those examples is 1. Okay. Now, if a company is valued at way higher than a PEG of 1, then a lot of people think that stock is overpriced, and they might try to short it or bet against it. If a company is trading at a PEG ratio of way under 1, then that is usually a good buying opportunity, as long as there's no other issues with the company. All right, we talked about price to earnings. Let's talk about price to book now. So price to book is basically what if I took the value of the company, if I took everything that company owned and liquidated it, say the company owned a cup, a keyboard, a microphone, and a mouse. And let's say that I calculate what all this stuff is worth if I were to sell it. Let's say all this stuff together is worth $100. And let's say the company that owns this stuff is worth $100 as well. Then the price of that company, meaning the numerator, is 100, and the book value of these assets is 100. So that's a price over book ratio of 1. And usually if a company has a price to book ratio of 1 or less, then it's usually a good buy, and value investors love to buy that stock. Okay. In a nutshell, as long as there's no other issues with that company. Now, if a company doesn't have earnings and it's growing quickly, then what people might do is they might say, well, you know what? I'm not going to use a price to earnings ratio to value this company because there's no earnings. I'm also not going to use a price to book ratio because this tech company is growing so fast. They don't really own anything except for the intellectual property on their software, for example. So there's no earnings. What can I do? Oh, I know. I'll do a price to sales ratio. So you'll take the value of the company, the market cap, divided by the sales of that company. Okay. And it all depends on what sector it's in. So if you're looking at the IT consulting sector, it might be 2 times revenue. If you're looking at a very low margin retail company that's competing with Amazon, it might be 1 times revenue or less. If you're looking at a cloud software company, and the average cloud software company, hypothetically speaking, is trading at 10 times revenue, price to sales, revenue is the same thing as sales, then the company you're looking at, which let's just say is also a cloud software company, should probably also trade at close to 10 times revenue. And eventually, when that company does turn profitable in the future, people will value that company based on price to earnings. And so the bottom line is we just discussed price to earnings, price to book, as well as price to sales. And the reason why people love looking at multiple valuation methodologies is because when they come up with a target price, one of these is way, way off. We don't know which one. If we take an average of all 3 target prices based on price to sales, price to earnings, and price to book, then we minimize the margin for error when we come up with the appropriate target price. One more thing I want to talk about, then we'll move on. There's 2 types of investors. There's growth investors, meaning people that like to buy expensive stuff that's growing fast. Then there's value investors, meaning people that like to buy things that are really cheap that probably aren't growing very fast. And it's like religion. These 2 groups don't get along, right? It can be contentious. And usually people, when they're in university or high school, when they're learning about finance, they're value investors, right? They're learning, buy low, sell high, or buy cheap stuff, whatever. Growth investors are venture capitalists. They're very long-term focused. They don't give a damn about earnings today. They don't want their companies to even be profitable when they go public. They want those companies to be profitable many years from now. And yes, these growth investors understand that the company they're investing in can be profitable if they fired all their salespeople and got rid of R&D. But then that company wouldn't be growing anymore, and the growth investor wouldn't like it. Growth investors don't give a damn about price to book. They look at price to earnings and price to revenue. Okay, we're done with growth. Value investors usually don't look at price to sales, because if you look at price to sales, you're kind of implying that I might be investing in a company that's not profitable. They usually look at 2 things, among others: price to earnings and price to book, meaning if you liquidated this company, what would it be worth? Okay. And every company that's a growth stock one day becomes a value stock. And that transition, when they stop growing, it gets really tough for the company, because as it's kind of in no man's land, or as I like to refer to it, investment purgatory. Growth investors don't want to buy it because it's not growing. Value investors don't want to buy it because it's not cheap enough. You're stuck in the middle. And that shift from growth to value takes about 10 years. It takes about 10 years to get a different group of investors to invest in your company. Now, don't ever invest in a company that's in that transition phase, because it's dead money for a while as it transitions from growth to value. It's trying to find itself or reinvent itself. Now, sometimes you'll have private equity investors like Carl Icahn, activist investors, they also call them, that will help to make that 10-year cycle shorter by buying part of this company, getting a seat on the board, firing a lot of people, cutting expenses a lot, so it can become, boom, a value investment or a much cheaper investment. And sometimes that will shorten the cycle from 10 years down to just a couple years. And a great example of this is when Carl Icahn got on the board of eBay, and he forced eBay to break up into 2 companies. The value-based eBay right? The core marketplace business is not growing that fast, but it throws off a lot of cash. And the high growth PayPal division as well, which growth investors loved. All right. Next is Adrian. Adrian's saying, hey, Chris, I'm in the self-help industry, and I want to know, if you were 18 again, what are the 3 skills that you would take with you while you started from nothing? Yeah. So I think one thing is confidence. You either have it or you don't, and confidence is a switch. It's perception becomes reality. It's like the road down. I think, therefore I am. I would probably have told myself, and I'm not being arrogant. And what I'm about to say, I want you to apply to your life as well. All these people around you, they might speak gooder than you, but they're not smarter than you. And I would tell myself to go to YouTube and search for a video that's 40 seconds long that will change your life, which is search for Steve Jobs Smarter Than You. Just realize that all this stuff around you that you call life, and I'm quoting Steve Jobs here, was made up by people that are no smarter than you. And you can build your own stuff as well. And I would have told myself that no one's smarter than you. I would have also told myself, don't live your life. This is the second thing now. Don't live your life to please others. Live your life to obviously make the world a better place, but to please yourself. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. Don't become a lawyer because mom and dad want you to, because you'll be miserable. There's no happy lawyers, except for civil rights lawyers. Do what you want to do. Otherwise, you'll always be someone else's prisoner. And also, don't chase money. This is the third thing. Don't chase money. If you chase money, you lose your dreams and your money. Instead, chase your dreams. And please fail many times along the way. Otherwise, you'll never make it. And if you chase your dreams and you're willing to fail at least a couple of times, then you got to watch out, because an awesome thing will happen. Be careful what you wish for. Your dreams will come true. And then the money will come accidentally. It always does when you do what you're passionate about. Nobody has reinvented an industry or the world just for money. Bill Gates was genuinely passionate about software. He always was. Steve Jobs, God bless him, was always passionate about beautiful, simplistic design. Richard Branson has always been passionate about all the many beautiful companies he started. That guy just oozes positivity. It was never about the money. It was about just kind of thinking with this first. And if you don't think with this first, then this will never work. So Adrian is saying, so is the course you said your experience with lifetime access to your future courses called? No. So Adrian, so I have a course called an entire MBA in one course, which I'm humble to say has now sold over 200,000 copies in the English version. That's just one course. It's a 7 or 8 hour course. What I'm talking about is my MBA Degree Program, which launches this December 2nd. And go to my website to learn more about what's going to be in that MBA Degree Program. I think it's going to be revolutionary, or your money back. And it's got a ridiculously low pricing point as well. And I'm not going to make money on it. I'm going to lose a lot of money, but I don't care. Like my other courses that I release will kind of, they'll finance it. I just want to make a difference one-on-one in helping you, achieve your goals in life by teaching you how to be an army of one, and to create, a dominant company. And to live your life in your own terms. And you can go to harounventures.com to read more about it. Just go to the FAQ side of the slide within the MBA Degree Program link there, yeah. And if you have more questions, ask me during this call, please. Thanks. Alex is saying, my parents are going to a wedding in Cardston, Canada. What should they expect in that area of Canada? Dude, I feel so ignorant. Danios, who's on the call, do you know where that is? Cardston? I gotta go together. I promise you I'll make this fast. I promise you. It's just I shouldn't be ignorant about my birthplace. I was born in London, Ontario, if you're curious. An hour and a half south of Toronto. Oh, it's in Alberta. Oh, dude. Okay, beautiful. Okay, you're gonna love this because Banff is it's Banff with two F's. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, so they're probably gonna get married at the golf course resort here. It's usually what people do. But I'm gonna zoom out here to see if you're close to Banff. Oh, you're right by the border. Okay. So your parents probably live in the United States and they're driving up from, or they're flying in, whatever. But if you can, while you're there, tell them to, if they're renting a car, to drive up to Banff, okay, which is right here, okay. It is just, dude, this place, it really is heaven on earth. So I don't know how long that drive is, but you can. I got to do it. All right, directions. So I'm going to enter that town name, and then we're going to go to Banff, see how long it is for your parents. It's a 3.5 hour drive. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it if they're up there anyway. You know, stay for an extra day and have them drive up to Banff. It's, again, 3.5 hours, but it's worth the drive. Worth the drive. And thank you for educating me on Cardston. Now I know where it is. All right. All right, next up is Carlos, who's saying, good evening from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Thank you. Great to hear from you. And I gave that speech that I just showed in YouTube. That was the keynote I gave in Sao Paulo. And I didn't realize this, but Sao Paulo has got like over 20 million people and a massive, massive Italian population as well. And I thought Toronto, where I grew up for a long time, had more Italians than any city in the world, including New York. But the only city that had more Italians than Toronto was Rome. It's true. But I think Sao Paulo now has more Italians, and that's why you can get wonderful mortadella there, mortadella sandwiches. I love it. So you put a smile on my face. Thank you for that. Oh, cool. Oh, and you're waiting for my new course about videos. Yeah, it'll be out soon. I'm working 24/7 trying to get this done, and I'm also, working on the MBA degree stuff at the same time and a YouTube course. So I got a really big launch pad this Q3 and Q4 of stuff that's coming out, and I'm pouring every single ounce of my heart into it. It's been fun. All right, Akil is saying, why do companies diversify into different industries, like Uber with Uber Eats and Amazon with Amazon Web Services? Yeah, they do it because you never want to be a one-trick pony, meaning a company with only one product, like the Tootsie Roll Corporation, right? They used to only have Tootsie Rolls, then they branched out into lollipops as well, just to diversify the revenue stream. You never want to be a one-product company, right? Like with Apple, for years, it was just a computer company. That's it. And it was called Apple Computers. And then they branched out into iPhones, iPads, etc. And they renamed themselves Apple, Inc. And investors loved it because they weren't a one-trick pony. You diversify the risk. It's kind of like saying, if you have a net worth of $100 and you put all $100 in one stock, that's not a great idea. You want to diversify just in case. And that's why companies love to diversify. Because what happens is it makes the risk lower for that company longer term. It's and the same thing with Uber. They got into Uber Eats because it's a way to grow as well, and they've got the platform there anyway. And I think it's a brilliant idea. They've got the distribution channel in place. It's kind of like Coca-Cola. Like Coca-Cola owns Dasani and Sprite or 7-Up, one of those two beverages. And the reason why they bought those aforementioned companies is because they already had the distribution channels in place to every single, store in the world that sells beverages. And the same thing with Uber Eats. They already have that distribution channel in place, so might as well deliver food as well. Yeah. And then with Amazon, it's a little bit different. So Jeff Bezos created Amazon Web Services almost by accident. And what happened was this. In 2005, Jeff Bezos realized that, oh my goodness, every holiday shopping season, our servers crash because lots of people go to Amazon.com and we can't fulfill all the holiday shopping needs. So what he did was he created 9 big buildings across the United States. And in those 9 big buildings, He had thousands and thousands of computers, meaning servers, and he turned them on. And he was able to fulfill all the holiday shopping needs in 2005 and 2006. But then something happened, which was in January, after all the presents were bought or returned or whatever it is, Amazon had all this excess capacity. And they thought, what do we do with all this excess capacity? It's just sitting there getting wasted. No one's using it. And he started renting that out. And he started renting out the computers to Uber, as well as Dropbox at the time, and Netflix and Airbnb and many other companies. And those companies run most of their computer processes on Amazon Web Services. And what Jeff Bezos did was he cut the pricing point every couple of months or so. And the pricing point's been cut over 70 times now on Amazon Web Services, which is astonishing. And it embedded within the DNA subfabric of Amazon is Walmart's EDLP strategy, or everyday low prices. And that's why they kept cutting the pricing point on Amazon Web Services. And it was so disruptive that it forced Microsoft to get rid of their CEO and to promote this brilliant man named Satya Nadella that made a competing version of Amazon Web Services at Microsoft called Microsoft Azure. And Google has their own version called GCE, or Google Compute Engine. And so, it's been very disruptive and very deflationary too. And I believe that our generations, and I've written a lot about this in Wired Magazine, VentureBeat, and other publications online, but this current generation's version of the Berlin Wall teardown event is Amazon Web Services, and I'll explain that. So when the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, what happened was the next decade after that, in the 90s, we had unprecedented economic growth. And when I used to work at a big hedge fund called Citadel, Alan Greenspan came in and he presented to us. And he said something that blew me away. He said the reason we had unprecedented economic growth in the 1990s, or as he called it, irrational exuberance at times, is not because the technology industry. It's because the Berlin Wall fell. And when the Berlin Wall fell, you had all of this very intelligent, brilliant, and cheaper European labor from East Europe moving west. And the biggest input into making products or starting companies is the cost of labor. And because of that, the cost of labor stayed artificially low for a decade as Germany was working on reunification of East and West. And I believe that the same deflationary trend is happening right now with Amazon Web Services. Because if Amazon keeps cutting prices, and they will keep cutting prices, eventually computing will be close to free. And none of those companies I mentioned, Uber, Airbnb, Dropbox, etc., none of them would exist if it weren't for Amazon Web Services, making it ridiculously cheap for them to scale their business online. And Jason is saying, front lights for me is proving hard as I need to eliminate reflections from my eyeglasses. Oh, interesting. When you're talking about when you're filming, it's hard because you see like reflections of the front lights. Yeah, I don't know what the way around that is. Well, I think about physics and how the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. So think about light that way as well. And maybe what you can do is you can have, instead of lights right there, you can actually have them on the side, okay, or up high, so that it hits it and doesn't go boom, boom into the camera. It goes boom, boom down. That's what light would sound like if it made sound. Boom, boom. All right. Speaker is saying, hey, Chris, happy 4th. Let's go America. Thank you. Thank you. Same to you as well. And happy July 1st to any Canadians on the call. That's Canada Day. All right. And Kartik is saying, what are the books to understand derivatives? Yeah. I don't know of one. I think that people do such a poor job explaining financial instruments in books. It's boring too. Really boring. If you're going to read books on finance, there's only one guy I'd recommend if you want the hardcore finance stuff. And that's this guy named Damadorian, who teaches at NYU. And I went into Ken Griffin's office when I worked for him at Citadel. He's the founder of Citadel. And we had a wonderful conversation for a half hour one day about technology, video games, everything. And that guy could talk coding. A lot of the original code at Citadel, which I think is going to be the biggest financial services firm in the world one day. But a lot of the original code he coded, back in the late 80s and early 90s when he was a student at Harvard University. But the reason I mentioned Ken Griffin is because when I went into his office, and whenever you go into anyone's office, I want you to please, if you can, and if it's available, look at the bookshelf, okay, if they still have paper books. And I want you to read what they've read. And when I walked into Ken Griffin's office and talked to him for a half hour that day back in, I guess it must have been 2004 in Chicago, he had a Damodaran book on finance, which I read. So check that out if you want to. That will kind of help you out with just the basics of finance. But in terms of options and derivatives, I don't think there is a great book on that topic. What you can do is take my complete financial analyst training course, or you can just go to YouTube and search my YouTube page for options and derivatives, as I've released a couple of vlogs on what those are. How do you know how much you, as a CEO or founder of a startup company, should be paid? Okay. And how much? Okay. The question is, how much should you pay a CEO and C-level executives in a startup, and how much should you pay other employees? Well, it all depends where you live, because obviously there's going to be a higher cost of living in New York versus Toronto, where I'm from. Also, what you can do is you can go to a website called glassdoor.com, and you can find out what people make. You just enter the company name and you find out what the range of salaries are. That's the best resource out there for that, glassdoor.com. And what you can also do is, if you don't have very much money when you're starting a company, you can give, instead of paying salary, you can give your employees ownership in the company or options. And that will make them longer term focused as well. And they call them golden handcuffs because you can't leave. I mean, you can, but if you leave, you lose those options. And what big publicly traded companies do is they give stock options every single year to their employees. And those stock options cannot be used except every 4 years. And when you're allowed to use those stock options, that's called vesting. Okay, so the vesting period is 4 years. So if I leave today and I've been at the company for 4 years, then I'm going to use the options that have been given to me over the past 3 years. Right? It's kind of, again, it's golden handcuffs. It makes you not leave the company or not want to leave the company as much. Plus, if everybody owns part of the company, then all your interests are aligned, especially for a startup. All right, the question is, how do you know your worth? Yeah. So if anybody ever calls you and says they're interested in hiring you, even if you don't want that job, I want you to meet with them. And I'm not telling you to be disloyal to your employer, but you'll find out your worth. And if you don't do that every now and then it's kind of like you're hurting your family and yourself, because business is highly cyclical. Boom, bust, echo, rinse, rather release. And companies tend to overhire during great markets and overfire during poor markets. They cut in the muscle, so to speak, instead of just fat. And as loyal as you think your employer or your boss is to you, sometimes it's out of their hand. When we're in an awful economic recession, a lot of times they have to let people go. They're forced to, right? So it's always good to have a plan B, and you'll have a plan B and you'll know your worth in the marketplace if you take these headhunter meetings. And obviously, don't ever respond to these headhunter meetings using your own phone at work. You want to respond from your Gmail address when you get home, that sort of thing. And if your company gives you a phone, I recommend getting your own phone as well, just because I think that if you search anybody's phone records or anything that they surf online, whatever it is, you can find something to punish them for, whatever it is. I have no idea. But just to be safe, I want you to have your own cell phone, which is separate. And if you work for a schmuck that makes you work long hours and not see your family, and just have FaceTime at night, meaning just sit there, which is ridiculous. It happens. Then I want you to use your personal cell phone as kind of like your Wi-Fi hotspot. And I want you to create your own business plan for your own companies while you do that FaceTime. That's right. That's right. I want you to look out for yourself and your family. And I want you to be independent. Like my goal in doing these webcasts is to humbly help you live your life on your own terms, by starting your own company. If you're not self-sufficient or happy and you're my student, then I've failed as your teacher. And in my MBA degree program, you're all going to be starting a company, even if you don't want to. Okay. And don't worry, it's not going to cost you any money. And I'm not going to ask for a penny more than $499. Meaning when it starts, there's not additional fees I'm going to charge you for, that sort of thing. Yeah. Unless it's actually that's not true. Unless it's the degree. At the end, there'll be a degree. And I have a company I'm working with where you can get the degree from. And if you want to get it framed, that's additional expense. Yeah. Kardic's got a great question. How do you beat mobile phone addiction? Dude, it is so hard. I mean, I feel naked sometimes without this thing. And what I do is this. When we go to dinner as a family, the second we all sit down, we have to all pile our iPhones on top of them so that we can connect as a family together. It's so hard, though. It's so hard. That's what I do. I also try to have screen-free Sundays. I try. It's really, really difficult. So you can reconnect. But aside from that, I love these things. I love these things. They're incredibly helpful. They keep me plugged into my business. I can work remotely anywhere in the world. However, there is an issue that I'm going to show you, right? And as always, I'm very self-deprecating. I'm starting to become a bit of a hunchback. And I'm going to teach you how not to become like that. So it's very gradual, right? I'm trying to have good posture. And with my kids, I always make sure their posture is good. And I actually wear this thing I left upstairs, which buzzes every time I'm hunched over. But if your kids use iPhones, I want you to always tell them to pretend they have a grapefruit or a softball underneath their chin, right? Like this. Don't ever look down like this, like this. And that will really help with your posture. What I also do is in my studio here, and I debated doing this or not, but I went ahead and did it. My monitors are now all up high. They used to be down here. And the reason why I kept them lower before was I thought it was kind of I don't know, like intimidating to some of my students if I'm always looking above their heads at questions and stuff. So it's only slightly above your head now. But keep your monitor up high. And what you can also do for your posture is you can get, those stands they have that hold laptops. You can get them, the steel ones or metal ones you can get on Amazon. I have those as well. And I type like this. Anyway, and I've got a little thing to hold up my wrist for carpal tunnel, which happens when you have senior moments like I do now. Question from Akil is, sir, what's your source of news? Please call me Chris. Thanks. What's your source of news, especially business and startup news? So I used to go to Crunchbase a lot when I worked in venture capital just to research, startups. Wall Street Journal. Sometimes I'll just read the non-editorial stuff. I don't sit down and read as much. I do a lot of podcasts. My favorite podcast on the planet, it's so awesome, is called This Week in Tech. And it's by a guy that lives in Portola Valley here in California named Leo Laporte, the door in French, Leo Laporte. And it's called This Week in Tech, TWIT. And he goes over in a really entertaining fashion all the important technology events over the past week, more so from a consumer perspective, like the new Samsung Galaxy, whatever, the new Android or the new iPhone, etc. I love that. I love listening. I think that audio is probably the best operating system out there. You shouldn't have to see, feel, or touch an operating system. It should just be everywhere. And audio is certainly a great source for that. I also listen to a lot of audiobooks. I subscribe to audible.com. I'm not compensated by any company ever, but I think Audible is worth subscribing to. It's owned by Amazon. You pay like $10 or $15 a month, and you get a couple books per month to listen to. And I love listening to biographies from successful business people because they inspire me. And they're also providing me with their blueprint for success. Why are they successful? And I urge all of you on this call to please, whoever your business idol or hero is, I want you to go to audible.com and I want you to download a book or 2 or 3 about them. Maybe it's an autobiography or just a biography. And I want you to do that so that you can, use their blueprints and one day turn your idol into your rival. But aside from that, I don't really use anything else. I get the Wall Street Journal alerts on my phone just so I can know, if a big acquisition has occurred. But I try to, I phased out all the news in my life, and I'm a much more positive person. Dude, if you watch the news every day, meaning let's say you don't have a job, and a lot of people don't have jobs, they watch the news and then they get paranoid because they say, oh my God, so much bad stuff's happening. Dude, tune out the media. Because great things are happening. The economy is awesome. Stock market's at an all-time high. Yeah, there's some political issues out there, whatever. But step away, man, and look at the forest from the trees. Things are freaking awesome. Things are awesome in the world. Things are really, really good. And people that pay too much attention to the media become negative people because, you are who you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with negative people or people that do drugs, you might do drugs. You might smoke, whatever. If you surround yourself with the media, meaning you have the media on all the time, television, whatever, or CNN.com or whatever it is, you'll be scared whenever you hear of breaking news. If you tune out all that stuff, you'll be a positive person. And that's why the younger generation that were born digital, the YouTube generation, I love them. Like my kids, dude, and if you guys have kids that have iPhones or Android handsets, you'll notice they never watch TV. They might be around the TV when you're watching it, but they're curled up on the couch with their iPhone or Android handset. And that generation is awesome because they're kind of insulated from the negative news or the negative media. And the problem with the media is that, and I understand it's a business. The problem is that because the younger generation doesn't watch TV, they're worried. The media outlets are worried that they're going to become irrelevant longer term. And the only way to stay relevant is to have shock value clickbait headlines, like scary stuff. Even if it's just local news, local man was shot, details after this commercial, stuff like that. You don't need to listen to that stuff. Just avoid all of it. And if you control your environment that way, you'll become a happier person. It's like Facebook. Facebook, it's weird. A lot of people get depressed when they go to Facebook because they have friends that are, posting stuff about their happy life, right? It's kind of like an insecure platform, whatever it is, what it is. And people feel unhappy because oh my gosh, that person is way better off than me. Look how happy they are. I'm such a loser, whatever it is. Just control your environment by eliminating any source of media that's going to bring you down. And when it comes to stocks and investing, I don't want you to listen to anything, right? Don't let anybody tell you what stocks to buy. Always do your own research. Always, always, always. And you'll be a longer term shareholder, and you'll be much more successful because of it. And you'll be a happier person too if you just tune out the negative media if you can. Question is, what are my thoughts on event management services? So there's 2 ways to answer that. Just please clarify your question. One is event-driven hedge funds, which short stocks that buy others, and they buy the other stock that's being acquired after the deal is announced, and they make money on that spread being compressed. Or there's event management companies like Eventbrite or other lower margin offline companies that will basically be like wedding planners and set up events for you. So just please clarify which of those 2 questions you have, and I'd be more than happy to provide you with my humble thoughts. Thanks. Akil is saying, how do you deliver an exceptional service to your clients and customers? Yeah, you always want to under-promise and over-deliver. Don't overdo it, though. Like salespeople, what they'll do sometimes is their quotas. They'll tell their boss, or the CFO will tell Wall Street that they expect to have this much in sales this quarter. And the reality is they really think it's that much. And if they can do that much or higher, then everybody's happy. So they kind of underpromised and over-delivered. You can't exaggerate that too much. Otherwise, people think you're sandbagging and they'll lose respect for you. So you always want to provide your customer with much more value than they can get anywhere else. And I believe that a company is only as good as its customer service. And that's why Amazon is such a fantastic company. You know, they have impeccable customer service. And Jeff Bezos is a role model for me. And the reason I do these weekly calls is because I want to provide you with the best possible customer service on the planet from a teacher. Okay. And I'm always trying to provide more than you're asking for. And the same thing with my MBA degree program. It's going to be $499. And you're going to get access to me and so much information to make you a business rock star that the equivalent degree would have cost you $100,000. That's right, at a top tier university. So I'm going to provide you with so much ridiculous value, so much more than you ever thought you could get for a low pricing points. And you know, if you keep the customer happy, happy customers, come and go. Raving customer fans stay forever. And that's what I'm trying to do with this ecosystem as well, with my small group of students here online. I'm trying to add a ridiculous amount of value to the extent that even in the application process for the MBA degree program, part of the essay process is you have to tell me your goals in 10 years. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to make those all come true. And for a price of only $499 for all that stuff, with the money back guarantee and with scholarships as well, it's a ridiculous offer. I set the bar here, and I'm going to deliver this much more value to you at this pricing point. So always under promise and over deliver, but don't do it too much if you work as a quota carrying sales rep, because then people that you work with might lose respect for you because they'll think you're sandbagging and being disingenuous. Jacob is saying, hi, Chris, how are you? And how's Christine? Thank you. She's great. She's great. Thanks. It's so funny because nobody ever forgets our names, because my wife's name is the same name as mine. She's Christine. I'm Chris. So we'll go to parties and everyone's like, oh, there's Chris and Christine. And I suck at remembering names. I'm really bad at it. I can talk to somebody for 3 hours, know everything about them at a party except their name. And then Christine will come over and I'll be like, damn it, I have to introduce them. And here's what I do actually. When Christine walks over at a party, if I don't remember somebody's name, I scratch the back of my neck like this, and Christine will introduce herself. And by the end of the night, I've lost like 8 layers of skin. Just kidding. On the back of my neck, it's all red and stuff. All right. No, she's great though. We're planning a trip to Barcelona. We're going pretty soon. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. And yes, I'm still gonna be doing this from Barcelona. And I'm gonna be in Germany this October. Yes, I'm still doing this weekly call from there. It's my commitment to you. All right. Akil is saying, which side would you suggest to develop the first B2B side or B2C side of our startup? Yeah, so B2B means business to business. B2C means business to consumer, business models. You'd have to tell me a little bit more about your business model first before I can answer that. My gut is whatever has the largest total addressable market should be your primary focus. Yeah. Next question is, why do you always say that mutual funds are a scam? Yeah, and you can just do a search on my vlog on YouTube on mutual funds scam. They're a scam because the fees are ridiculously high, and 90% of mutual funds massively underperform ETFs, exchange traded funds, which have lower fees. And so a lot of mutual funds say they have a fee of 3 or 4%, but it's actually a lot higher because what happens is a lot of them, they don't care about your tax situation. They'll buy and sell stocks all year long, which means that if you made money within a year, you pay a higher tax rate, because governments usually globally, they reward you for patience. You pay higher taxes on money made in 1 year versus money made in more than 1 year. ETFs, by contrast, they just, basically it's a fund consisting of stocks in an index, and there's no turnover. Once those stocks are bought, they're usually there forever, unless those indexes are rebalanced. So ETFs usually have fees of 0.5% or less, and most of them beat the pants off of mutual funds that have fees of at least 3%. So why do people still invest in mutual funds? Well, it's because it's kind of like saying, why do people buy Perrier or Evian water? Because the Evian Water Corporation, for example, which bottles water in France and sells it to us in America or anywhere in the world, they have a great marketing department. And the same thing in mutual funds. They spend a ton of money on marketing and advertising. But if you read between the lines and read the prospectus, the offering memorandums, you'll realize that the fees are just ridiculously high. And you can make much more money by simply investing in ETFs. And if you want more details on that, just again, watch my 15-minute vlog on why mutual funds are a scam, which I recorded in San Francisco in front of Schwab's headquarters. And Schwab has, they also offer ETFs. Next question is there a website where we can read different analysis and research on companies like SWOT analysis or PESLE? I've never heard of PESLE. Wow. Yeah, let me know what PESLE stands for. Thanks. So SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. In any course you've taken in business school, and there's a lot of MBAs on this call, I know that. What I want you to do is think back on every course you took. And I want you to think of one framework that you learned. So for a strategy course, it might be a SWOT analysis. For a marketing course, it might be the BCG matrix, etc. And it's important to be cognizant of that, because when you analyze stuff in business or you're being interviewed, you can always fall back on a crutch, which is one of these frameworks. And I teach a lot about that and how to answer any question in an interview in my complete job course, as well as my interview Better Than Anyone Else course. I don't really know where you can find that. I mean, if you read analyst reports on any company, meaning if you take somebody else's opinion on a stock, they all have frameworks within them. You could read sell-side reports. You can do a search on McKinsey reports on a certain sector, or in the tech sector, Forrester reports or Gartner reports. But I'd rather that you don't do that. I'd rather that you just do your own work, so you're not biased by anybody else. Nobody's smarter than you. And your homework is to watch that video by Steve Jobs. Go to YouTube and search for Steve Jobs Smarter Than You, and always do your own research. Never rely on anybody else, please, when it comes to investments, because, everybody is biased. If you see a CEO being interviewed on television, of course they're going to be positive about their company. That's what CEOs do. They're salespeople. If you see somebody being interviewed on TV that's talking about a stock they like, yeah, of course they're biased. They probably own that stock. So tune out the media and just do always your own research. And I promise you that you'll make much more money in the long run by thinking for yourself. And the best way to learn how to write these reports yourself is you can take my complete financial analyst training course. Happy 4th of July to you too. Thank you. You're most welcome, Jacob. Jacob is saying, do you have a class on Excel? Yeah, I started making one, and then I realized that I could release it, but a lot of it is just a repeat, and I'd be disingenuous to you if I released it, because I teach you exactly how to use Excel from scratch in my complete financial analyst training course. And if I wanted to, I could take all the Excel lectures from that, make it a new course, and make a ton of money, but I feel like that'd be ripping you off. Just take my complete financial analyst training course, because you'll learn how to invest money, and you'll learn Excel from scratch as well in that course. And there's money back guarantee as well. Thank you, Maz. Maz says, oh, I didn't know you're in DC, Maz. Thank you. Yeah, happy 4th to you as well. There's supposed to be some parade today, right? I think Trump wanted to have all those tanks. Give me my iPhone, just look at that for a second here, and you guys can look up as well if you want. I'm just really curious. And one of the issues with the tanks that Trump wanted to have is that these tanks are so heavy that they would actually cause the infrastructure, the roads, to crack. So I'm going to go real quick, and you guys can do this if you want to. I'm just curious now, man. I can go to CNN.com. We can do this together online just to see what's there. Yeah. Oh, here it is. Here's how Trump's 4th of July event will play out. Okay, I see a tank and a bunch of troops in front of Capitol Hill there. There's not much more. All right. Yeah. Here, I'll put that back down. Sorry. Squirrel. All right. Logan is saying, hey, Chris. Hey, man. I know all of the logical steps I need to take to achieve my goal, but it's the emotional side that I need to work on. You know, fear, worry, and anxiety keep on getting in the way. Any tips? Yeah. So when you come up with your goals, I want you to write them down and put them in your Android handset or your iPhone in your calendar. Okay, and have it as a private whatever event if you have your calendar shared with other people, and have that event show up every day at like 5 a.m. And I want you to update your goals often. Okay, and when you set these goals, I want you to set a deadline date as well, because most people give up on their New Year's resolutions by the third week of January because they don't set a deadline date. And one thing that might help you with your anxiety is ask yourself, do I care what other people think of me and my goals? And if the answer is yes, then that can be causing a lot of anxiety. You got to basically tell yourself, I don't give a damn what people think of me. Try it. It's very therapeutic. Let's do it together. I don't care what people think of my shirt. I don't care what people think of my car. I don't care what people think of my hair, which I've been dyeing since my 20s. It's true. I don't care what people think of my profession. I don't care that my friends that work in venture capital and the hedge fund industry keep calling me saying, do you want to come back? Do you want to come back? What you're doing is crazy, that sort of thing. Or they're thinking that at least. I just don't care. You know, I don't care what people think of how I've set up the studio. I don't care that people think I might be crazy to launch an MBA degree program. I just don't care. You know, I'm living my life my own terms, and I'm not anybody's prisoner in my mind or their minds. I just don't care. I want you to say the same things as well as you embark upon this wonderful journey to achieve your goal in life. And you know what happens is Jim Cramer said that, or not Jim Cramer, sorry. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. The guy that did Titanic. James Cameron, yeah. James Cameron said, set your goals so high that if you fail, you still fail above everyone else's expectations. And also set your goals so high so that you grow into the person, you become the person that can achieve that goal. And you're going to get discouraged when you embark upon a journey to an amazing goal. And what happens, and I love to use the analogy of the mountain. So let's say that everybody in this call, you come up with your North Star goal, meaning your number one goal in life. And your goal you just came up with is, I want to reach the top of that mountain over there. And you're excited and you're pumped up. And you start walking towards that goal and you're getting closer. And you're like, wow, man, I can see the mountain. The top of the mountain's getting bigger now. I'm getting closer. And then after a while, you get disillusioned and you feel like, I can't do it. I just can't. And you zigzag this way and that way. And you're like, I can't see the top of the mountain anymore. I can't see my goal. Don't worry. Rest assured. The reason you can't see the top of the mountain anymore is because you're halfway up the mountain and you just can't see it. But just know that you are getting closer to your goal. All right. Logan is saying, I took your MBA course. I loved it. Thank you. But some things don't apply in the country I live in, which is India. Starting a business in developing country is hard. How do I apply what you're teaching here? No, it's applicable everywhere. It's applicable everywhere. You know, some of the legal titles like limited liability corporation might be called something different in India. But the whole how to network, you know, which is mentioned in that course as well. It's true in every country in the world. Every country in the world. Understanding financial statements. You know, accounting is a global language. You know, every country has a balance sheet. Every country has companies that have an income statement as well and a cash flow statement. That's universal. Raising money is universal. Marketing is universal. If there are certain topics that you think don't apply in India, please let me know right now on this call, and I'll help us to understand them better. Thank you. Get some water. Rudy, good morning to you too, buddy. Good morning to you too. And how's your insurance startup going? I hope you're kicking ass. Rodrigo is saying, good morning, Chris. Good morning. Nice to see you again. I have a question about investors. I'm creating a startup company with a developer team in another country. Do you think investors are okay with that? Yeah, I do. I mean, the reality is that, given globalization and technology, you don't work with people that are in the same country as you anymore. Like look at us. We're all in different countries. There's no issue with that as well. I'd prefer, though, that the head of engineering be in the same office as you, okay, as the CEO, for example. It's okay to offshore stuff. Absolutely. But it'd be great if the head of engineering is local. That would make me feel a little bit more comfortable. And it's okay to outsource a lot of stuff overseas, but not all of it. I always like to have a couple people local as well. Okay, what is face value? So when I mentioned face value before, actually, I don't know if you mean FaceTime or face value. And LTP, is it with respect to bonds? Just clarify the question, please, so I can humbly answer it for you. Thanks. And what does LTP stand for? Long-term price. I don't know what that means. Thanks. Next up is, do you buy stocks of unheard companies but are still doing great? How do you know which stocks to buy, since there are many thousands of them listed on the Sensex that's India's stock market? Yeah. So I only invest in what I understand, and I understand technology. And quite often, and of course I couldn't do this for Satyam, Infosys, or Wipro, but I like to use the product. And if I use the product and I understand the product, then I'm more likely to be a long-term investor anyway. Now, when it came to those companies on the Sensex, I mentioned, Satyam, Infosys, Wipro. I used to work at Accenture, so I understand that sector really, really well. I've invested a lot in Accenture as well as other services companies, so I kind of get that sector. Yeah, and so there's so many stocks to choose from. You can do a screener if you want. I like to do bottoms up stuff. Like, instead of looking at the forest and the trees, I like to look at individual stocks, bottoms up. And I say to myself, in 5 years, will more people use Google to search, or Yahoo, for example? So obviously Google's a better investment. 5 years from now, will more people use Blackberries or they use iPhones? You get the idea. I try to think very long term. And if you want all of my details on how to come up with a rock solid investment idea, you can always take my complete financial analyst training course. Do you multitask, or do you do one task at a time? What would you recommend? Yeah, I love to multitask. I love to do multiple things at once. I have a little bicycle wheel thing under my desk in a couple of rooms here in my house. I have a treadmill, which it's actually outside of this room now, but I use it sometimes when I'm exercising. And I've got this stand-up desk as well, which is awesome. I don't want to lift it too high, otherwise you'll see the big mess under the table, the cables and stuff. But I love to always, kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. I love to do a couple things at once. I love to go for a walk, which means I'm exercising, while I listen to audiobooks. I love to drive while I'm listening to podcasts. I love to do multiple things at once. And I find that when I do multiple things at once, I'm much more productive, especially when it comes to exercise. For example, every day at 4 o'clock, when I start to fade up here a bit, what I'll do is I'll go to my elliptical trainer, and I'll do work while reading my iPad or using my laptop. And I get this second wind, so to speak, because you're releasing a lot of serotonin when you're exercising, and this works a lot better when this works better too. So when I multitask, a lot of it includes exercising and working at the same time. And you can even get like those wheels below your desk if you want to. I think it's called QB. It's the company that makes them, Cubii. You can get it on Amazon, or you can get other products that are cheaper like that. And you can get it below your desk and no one hears them. They're very quiet for the most part while you're working. So I recommend trying that out. I also recommend, if you can, getting a stand-up desk or standing part of the day while you work. It'll make you more productive because you burn more calories, and it's better for your heart as well. What does it mean by promoter in stocks? Okay. I'm not sure. It might be with respect to something I said earlier in the call, which is with cryptocurrencies, a lot of people who I think will go to jail eventually, they pump and dump. They promote the cryptocurrencies they invest in by telling everybody this is a great investment. Then they get people to buy it, drive the price up. Then they sell it. That sort of thing, yeah. If that's not what you're referring to, please let me know. How are marketing and advertising different? Yeah. So for advertisement, I want you to think of the TV show Mad Men, if you've watched it, which is about advertising agencies in the 1960s in America, which is an awful time to be working in America. My grandfather actually, God bless him, when he was alive, he saw on my wall, I had a picture of my fraternity, all the names of all the people. And he looked at all the names. He said, you know what, son? Given your last name and the last name of almost everybody on this, none of them would have gotten jobs back in the 60s. A little off topic there, but whatever. We've come a long way, right? And so advertising basically means, making a commercial for television or making a commercial in a magazine or on the radio. And marketing is a little bit different. Marketing, you kind of, it's a little bit more quantitative. Who should you market to? What's your total addressable market? Who is the customer? What price should I charge? How should I promote this product? That sort of thing. So I think advertising is a lot more creative and artistic. And I think marketing is a little bit more quantitative and scientific. How does buying back shares from your employees work? How is it good for the company, and how does it affect the employee who own the stock? No, it's not buying back shares. So when you get stock options, what happens is shares are created out of nothing, right? And yeah, it dilutes the amount of shares outstanding a bit, not a huge amount. And you're given shares. And you can then sell those shares on the open market, on the stock market, if your company is public. Okay, it's not the company buying the shares back from you. However, if companies do a general share buyback, sometimes companies have a lot of money and they don't know what to do with that money. They don't want to buy another company, and there's just a lot of cash sitting around, and investors are getting pissed off. Investors are saying, look, either issue a dividend or buy back shares. If you buy back shares, then what happens is the price earning ratio goes down because the earnings per share increases. Okay, and I'll explain just how that works. Okay, so PE is the price of the company divided by the earnings per share. Now, earnings per share, if there are fewer earnings per share is basically earnings divided by number of shares. If there are fewer shares, then the earnings per share goes up. And if your denominator is bigger in the price to earnings ratio, then the price earnings ratio goes down. And that's why investors love it when companies do massive buybacks, because it makes the stocks cheaper. And it's also a great vote of confidence that the company is buying back shares. And John is saying, happy 4th of July. John's from Rochester. How are you, John? Happy 4th of July to you too. What do you prefer, GRE or GMAT? And how should I prepare for that? So I think a GRE is not really used for getting into MBA school. I think it's more so the GMAT. And I don't know too much about the GRE because I've never written it. But if you're going to write the GMAT, dude, what you should do is only this. Trust me what I'm about to tell you. I promise you what I'm about to tell you is going to work exceptionally well for you. You can take, if you want, you can take my How Do I Get into Top MBA Schools on Udemy. It's a half-hour course. It's short. But when it comes to the GMAT, I want you to do one thing. I want you to only take the Princeton Review. I want you to take the classes. Okay, Princeton Review is owned by Kaplan, which is owned by the Washington Post, which is now owned by Jeff Bezos. But take the Princeton Review, and they'll teach you lots of tricks. And they trained me so well to the extent that, and I took it so seriously, and I cite hundreds of hours for the GMAT, more than anybody else. And the GMAT GMAT is not an intelligence test. It's just how hard you study for the test. That's why I did well on it, because I worked really, really hard, harder than anybody. And what Princeton Review will teach you is how to get questions right without reading the questions. That's right. Not all questions, but lots of them. For example, if you're doing a multiple choice question, and this applies to everybody in this call for multiple choice questions forever, for the rest of your life. If you look at the answers and you think like a lawyer, God forbid, but if you think like a lawyer when you're writing tests, you'll do really well. If in one of the 4 answers, the multiple choice question is the word always or never, then those 2 are wrong. Now you got a 50-50 shot of getting that question right without reading the question. Why? Because if I told you this Apple keyboard is always gray or is always black, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a different shade of gray. Or if I say, this awesome RTIC coffee holder never spills. Well, there's got to be a situation where it does spill. So think like a lawyer and eliminate words like always and never. And also Princeton Review will help you to write your essay better as well, as part of the whole essay writing section of the GMAT. I can tell you how if you care. And just trust me, take it. Take the Princeton Review course, and don't study any other materials from other companies, because it'll mess up the logic in your head and the methodology that Princeton's going to teach you. I don't get kickbacks from mentioning anything from any product or service, but I just take it. I promise you'll do well if you take the Princeton Review. And I'm sure there's got to be a couple offices in Rochester. There has to be for Princeton, yeah. And you go there to take classes. It's like night school kind of. Which CEOs from the Bay Area are very good at networking? I mean, I'd say all the CEOs of the largest tech companies. I mean, that's how they made CEO. It's a CEO is basically a very good salesperson. They've all networked their way to get to the top. A lot of them are like politicians too. It is what it is. Right, they can grip and grin. But I think that the number one CEO for me is a guy named Bill McDermott, who's the co-CEO of a great German software company called SAP. And I recommend that you read his book, or at least listen to it on Audible, because his voice is so passionate. It's awesome. And Bill McDermott's book is called The Winner's Dream, and he is just incredible at networking. And I have friends that work for him at SAP, and he said, dude, it's scary. This guy comes in, he lights up the room, and I've met him a number of times, and the guy's amazing. He should run for president. But Bill McDermott will walk into a room, and he'll remember everybody's name, and he'll remember the janitor's kids' names, who he talked to one time 10 years ago, whatever it is, right? So he's really interested in people. But he's probably the best networker in the world. And if you want tips on how to be like him, listen to the book or read the book, The Winner's Dream. Yeah, he's amazing, Bill McDermott. And his life story is awesome. I don't want to ruin it for you, but you can listen to the audiobook if you want. Yeah. All right. Any thoughts on Jamie Dimon? So Jamie Dimon is the CEO of JP Morgan. Yeah, and I think he kind of implied he's stepping down soon as well. You've been reading. You're saying you've been reading or watching him lately, and he seems like a smart dude. Yeah. And I have a lot of friends that actually work for him at JP Morgan, senior executives, and he is a good dude. He's a good dude. He's smart. He's personable. The women love him, and I mean that in a good way. No, he's. I think he's smart. I think he's a great CEO. I think he's fantastic, and Wall Street will certainly miss him when he steps down. Akil is saying, what are your thoughts on Carl Icahn with eBay? Did he do the right thing? Absolutely. So Carl Icahn, for those of you who don't know, he is an activist investor. And he owns a private equity firm. And what he does, he buys big stakes in companies. Okay, he buys a lot of shares. And then he buys so many shares that a lot of times he gets a board seat. And then he bullies that company into making the stock go up by either getting rid of people, restructuring, splitting the company in two, etc. And what he did with eBay was brilliant. He bought a big stake in eBay. and he kind of forced John Donahoe, the CEO, to change a lot of things, and John left. John's a great guy. I know him. He used to work at Bain and Company, and every time I meet with him, because I used to be a big investor in eBay, I shake his hand. He's like 8 feet tall. But he kind of forced John to do other things. And then he forced the company to unlock shareholder value by splitting into two pieces. The core marketplace business, which value investors love, and then the high growth PayPal business, which growth investors love. And the value of these two companies as different entities was much higher than the value together, because people were confused with eBay. Value investors didn't want to buy it because there was that expensive, PayPal side to it. And growth investors didn't want to buy it because they hated the sleepy, slow growth, old school auction marketplace business. But shareholder value was unlocked by making them two separate companies. And if anybody's curious about how private equity works, and you know how much I love edutainment and the movies, what you can do is you can watch a movie called OPM, or Other People's Money, which has Danny DeVito in it. It's an oldie but a goodie, and it will kind of explain to you, how private equity works and how a lot of these people can be heartless. But check it out if you get a chance. OPM, Other People's Money. How do you convince investors to raise a lot of money, since the startup will burn a lot of cash initially, but later, after 3 to 5 years, it will become the industry leader? Yeah, so I recommend, and I know I bring this up a lot, but it works. So I've raised and managed over $1 billion in my career, and you can learn my secrets for free. Yeah, in my networking book. You can go to my website, harounventures.com, and download this book for free. Relationships are more important than product knowledge, and it's important to connect with people, and it's also important to be incredibly passionate about what you're selling. Okay, think with this first, and this works exceptionally well. And a lot of your investors will know that your business model is going to change materially, but they want to make sure that they're excited by you, and can you adapt? And when you're trying to raise money, sophisticated investors look at you and they think, can this person sell? If I pretend I'm a customer, am I getting excited about her or his product? Is this person making a boring concept like cloud computing sound exciting, like Mark Benioff did with Salesforce.com? And Benioff is the quintessential salesperson. He's amazing. He's the best. And a lot of times people, won't invest in your business model just for your business model. It'll be for you. And the most sophisticated investors would rather invest in an A management team with a B business model rather than invest in a B management team with an A business model. So a lot of it comes down to you and the quality of your management team. And what I recommend doing is take my complete business plan course, because I have you write a business plan from scratch. I provide you with 50 templates on how to make your business plan. And I also provide you with 25 templates on how to give a great presentation to raise money. Okay, and take that course, and you'll see that creating your investor presentation is a lot easier than you think, and you would have covered all the major topics that you need, all the critical success factors, so that you can impress your audience and raise money as well. Akil is saying, can you tell me the ingredients and how can I make the bulletproof coffee by me? Sure. Sure. So this here is, and I'm going to use a new camera angle, actually. Let me see if I can use this guy here. All right. That shouldn't be in the frame there. All right. So this here is bulletproof coffee. And all it is coffee with butter. Okay, and a little bit of MCT oil. And MCT oil is basically like, it's like coconut oil. And the reason that, so people have been putting butter in their coffee for hundreds of years. And it helps you to focus better. And it makes me feel like Bradley Pitt from the movie, people don't mistake me for Bradley Pitt, by the way. It makes you kind of think and feel like Bradley Pitt from that movie Limitless, where he took a pill and was able to write tons of books. and think really clearly. And it's kind of had that impact on me. So I've been doing this for about 4 years now. And Bulletproof Coffee is made by a Canadian company, based in Vancouver, called Bulletproof. And what they do is they sell a certain type of coffee bean that is produced and processed in such a way that there's no mold on it. And that's important because a lot of the times when you drink coffee, there's mold on it. And so you get that high from drinking coffee and then you crash because of the mold. So Bulletproof Coffee does not have mold. Also, Bulletproof Coffee, you buy it yourself from any organic store. You can buy the butter. You put in a tablespoon of organic grass-fed butter. Okay? It's just like milk and cream. That's it. And then you also put in 1 or 2 drops of Bulletproof's MCT oil, okay, which is like coconut oil. And if you do it, please, 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 please. I mean, talk to a nutritionist first and all that stuff. Of course, there's a disclosure there. But if you're going to do it, only put in a tiny drop of the MCT oil initially, like a tiny teaspoon, because you will get awful stomach aches until you build up some sort of a tolerance. Then eventually you can do a tablespoon, whatever. So anyway, that's Bulletproof. It's the first thing I consume every morning. I also consume this, and this is just on Sunday. And I talk all about this in my my course called 30-Day Challenge to a More Productive and Much Happier You. But every single Sunday, what I do is, sorry, I'm butchering this scene here. Here we go. Yeah, every single Sunday, what I'll do is I will make 7 of these, okay? And I'll make 7 greatest hits drinks. And it's all documented also, if you want more details on this, in this book, 30-Day Challenge to a More Productive and Much Happier You. Don't buy the book, take the course if you want, because the book is included on Udemy. And what I put inside this every Sunday is greatest hits of everything that's going to be an antioxidant, help me live longer and not get cancer, etc. So I put in a lot of kale, I put in raw ginger root, I put in whey protein, and I have all the ingredients explained in here as well in this book. I put also a lot of what's called acai, which is a wonderful South American fruit. I also put in cinnamon, and I put in tons more stuff as well. And then I blend it together with lemon, no sugar, just with lemon and aloe water in my Vitamix blender, which I got 5 years ago, which is great. And this is my first meal of the day, so to speak, along with my Bulletproof Coffee. And it's great. It's great. It gives me a lot of energy. Anyway, I think more clearly as well because of it. And what I also do, and these are clean pants I put on today. That's why I'm going to show you this. I threw these in this morning, and I'm going to go through some of these here for you. Okay. So I take a bunch of herbs every day, and what I'm going to show you are not just vitamins. And yes, some of them are placebos. I promise you that. I don't know which ones. Okay. But I basically watched that movie Minority Report in 2002 with Tom Cruise, great Spielberg movie. And that movie kind of inspired me to think differently about what I'm about to show you, because what that movie is all about is the pre-crime group found out what crimes people are going to commit, right? It's just science fiction. And I thought to myself, well, if I know what diseases I'm going to get because I have my DNA sequenced, then I could nip it in the bud and not get those diseases. And we're all deficient in a couple of vitamins. Okay, I don't know if it's vitamin A, B, C, or whatever it is for you, but we are all deficient in certain areas. And so if we blast ourselves with 100 or 200% of the daily value or amount you're supposed to have, then you'll be more healthy and you'll probably get sick less often. Again, I know some of these are placebos. I don't know which ones. And when I have my DNA sequenced, it said with a high degree of probability that I'm going to get age-related macular degeneration, right, or AMD, I think they call it, and that basically means your eyesight goes down a lot in your 60s. And I told my mom about it, and she said, "Oh my goodness, your grandfather had that too." So I went to my eye doctor, and my eyes were fine, whatever, when I got tested a couple of years ago. And what he did, now you understand why pills aren't round, by the way. Otherwise, they'd roll, meaning they're not circles or shaped like a ball. But what he did was he told me I could take this this very benign zinc substance here, which you can get on Amazon. I'll obviously talk to a nutritionist or a real doctor first before doing this, so that I don't get that eye disease later in life. Okay, and I'll go through a couple of these. This is calcium. I get my calcium. I don't drink much milk, whatever, but I get a lot of my calcium from kale. Kale's got tons of calcium, and kale's in my drink, obviously. I feel like a dealer. This is chromium. I also take biotin, which helps me think more clearly. These here have retinol in them. And this is a product here, a life extension product by the head of engineering at Google, a guy named Ray Kurzweil. And these ones here, most of these ones here I'm about to show you, come from a daily vitamin pack by a guy named Dr. David Williams. Okay. Then I take creatine because I'm trying to put on a little bit of muscle as well. And then I have a bunch of other products as well, green tea, etc. And that kind of sums up what I'm taking here every day. And I'll take them. I won't swallow them all at the same time, obviously, but what I do is, and you'll see it sometimes in the calls, I'll have this. I'll take one every hour or two, whatever, as I take a sip of this greatest hits antioxidants drink here, so I can live forever. And I believe that the person that's going to make it to 150 years old is alive today. I do. And I think that almost everybody in this call is going to make it well into our hundreds. It's not a stretch, dude, because if you think about it, back in the 1950s, the average human lived 26 fewer years than they do today. And we've had such ridiculous advancements in medicine, et cetera, that it's not a stretch. Most of us are going to live well into our hundreds. And the average age of somebody starting a company in America now is 52. So, yeah. All right. And the whey protein I use is by a company called Quest. I know it's not the best thing for me. I should probably use organic stuff, but whatever. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. It could be my vice. And the flavor I use is I use salted caramel, which tastes great. And I also do the Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavor, which is Cinnamon Toast Crunch, or as people call it, CTC, is like the best cereal ever. All right. Especially for people that do too much of this, apparently. Not me. All right, next up is, why do we still drink Coke even though we know it does only harm? Because Coke's advertising, right? Their advertising's off the charts. And I think that when my children are my age, their kids are going to say, I can't believe that you guys drank sugar-based sodas. That's just as bad as smoking cigarettes. It's not as bad, obviously, but these companies have massive marketing campaigns, and governments are trying to do their best to keep them out of the hands of children. So I think in California, you're not allowed to have vending machines with pop or soda in them in classrooms or in schools. Yeah. So and actually, even in San Francisco, you're not allowed to have bottled water now. And there's some ordinances, like where I live right here, they cannot give you water with your meal unless you ask for it. So anyway, yeah, but no, Coke is definitely bad for you. And Coke actually, if you believe in Santa Claus, please earmuffs what I'm about to say. And if my kids are watching, Santa exists always. But Coca-Cola created Santa Claus. So yes, there was Kris Kringle and Santa's been around forever, but the look of Santa Claus, right, the red and white, was an advertising campaign from Madison Avenue for Coca-Cola back in the 1930s. That's why you don't really see Pepsi use Santa Claus in ads. It's kind of interesting. But Coke is the quintessential marketing company. It's an incredible company, yeah. And they know that Coke sales are going down. That's why they have Diet Coke and Coke Zero and all these other cool flavors. And damn you, Coca-Cola, for canceling Twisted Mango. That was the best drink ever. It was a Diet Coke Twisted Mango. I think they just canceled it. I loved it. And that's why Coke also bought Dasani, right? And they have health products as well. And I think Coke will get into the fresh pressed juice business eventually. Yeah. All right. Hold on a second. Can you talk in detail about everyday price cutting strategy of Walmart and Amazon. Yeah. So the EDLP strategy, everyday low pricing. So Walmart and Amazon and Costco, which is a big retail company here in America, they sell all of their products at the lowest price they possibly can. They just make up for it on volume. It's like selling courses online. Can I charge $800 for one of my courses? Yeah, but it won't sell as much. If I sell it for $10, it's like Walmart strategy, right? You just have to sell a lot more units. And a lot of the products actually for Walmart, a bunch of them are loss leaders. A lot of times you'll see coupons, you'll go in, you'll buy stuff that's so cheap, they'll lose money on it, but hey, they'll get you in the store. And the higher margin products for them are usually right by the cashier. Like you can buy a drink there or a stick of gum or whatever it is, right? They get you, you're captivated while you're lining up there. But by having the low pricing strategy, it leads to consumers just wanting to shop only at your store, and that's it. Like I only buy stuff on Amazon online unless I can't find it, then I'll go to eBay or something, right? But I know that I can get the lowest prices at Walmart and Amazon. That's why I shop at those two places. Yeah, and it's interesting because Costco in America, Costco actually loses money on the hot dogs and the drinks they sell you sometimes, and Costco hasn't raised the price of their hot dogs ever. It's still like $1 or $1.50, and the pizzas are still cheap. And everything you see in the Costco store gets turned over, meaning it gets sold every 2 weeks. Everything, and no product is allowed to have more than a 15% profit markup, right? So that's how they keep you coming back to the store. You always get lowest prices, and obviously they've got great customer service as well, like Amazon does. I mean, you can return stuff, especially TVs. Don't buy TVs anywhere else, man. Buy it from Costco. And Costco actually, 80% of their operating profit comes from the annual membership fee. So these companies, the bottom line is they make up for their low prices with volume. Oh, so Adrian's asking the fourth crypto. So I mentioned Bitcoin. 4 cryptos I own: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and all right, I'll tell you, it's Ripple. Okay, XRT. Ripple. Yeah. So, and Ripple is geared towards the financial services sector, and that's not me telling you guys to buy any cryptos, please. I've owned them for a long time. What service do I use for researching stocks? My own. I don't rely on anybody. So if you take my complete financial analyst training course, I do all my own research, and I teach you how to do it as well. And so, I teach you how to fish instead of giving you a fish. Yeah. Don't ever rely on anybody else, ever, for stocks or any investments. Always do your own research. Always, always, always. Otherwise, you'll panic sell when the stock goes down. Imagine that, selling something you like because the price is lower. Okay, thanks. So Akil's clarifying a question he asked earlier about event management services like Eventbrite and meetups or marriage management services. Yeah, if it's online, I love those business models because it's infinitely scalable. I'm trying to understand how meetups makes money though. It's kind of like there's a freemium offering of their products, and you can go to meetup.com. To see how they make money, I guess. And if you figure it out, let me know. But I love those business models better because they're growing very, very fast and they're incredibly scalable. I don't like the offline event management business because it's just not as scalable. It's kind of like scaling a consulting firm. It's just hard to do unless you hire tons of people. It's tricky. But scaling a software or cloud-based company is quite easy to do. All right, Jacob is saying, will there be a deadline for completing the MBA degree program? Is my account going to be valid for a few years or forever? Thank you. It's going to be valid forever. You're going to learn at your own pace, and I'm going to be here for you forever. That's right, forever. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to live forever. I showed you all the vitamins I take. I'll be forever. It'll never expire. So you can learn at your own pace. Oh, Andrew Dupree. You mean Dupree. How are you, Andrew? Andrew is like me, but the opposite. He's an American living in Canada. I'm a Canadian living in America. And Andrew, I always say you, me, Dupree when I see it because of that movie with Owen Wilson. Yeah. So Andrew is saying Raptors win. That's what I'm talking about. Excellent. Yeah. it's great because all my American buddies are pissed off. And basically I tell them, you know what, dude, our Americans beat your Americans. Yeah. 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 No, I've been here, brother. I've been here. I've been to Toronto. No, I got to go to Canada. I got to go and visit. It's been too long. It's been too long. I might go this summer, actually. Maybe we can do a meetup there as well. Be fun. We're going to Barcelona. I was told that's how to pronounce it, Barcelona. All right, Jacob, good to see you again, Andrew. Jacob's saying, thank you, Chris. We'll definitely take your financial analyst class. Happy 4th. Thank you. Happy 4th to you, too. Andrew, happy 1st as well. July 1st is Canada Day. See, Canadians are always just a little bit ahead of Americans. Actually, you might be curious about Thanksgiving. So the reason why Thanksgiving in Canada is several weeks before the American Thanksgiving, this is true, is because the harvest is earlier in Canada because it's colder. Yeah. And I think 95% of Canadians live within 100 miles of the U.S. border for commerce reasons and for the weather, too. Dave is saying, I guess it doesn't have to be research analyst or bust. Sully is saying, hello, after 4 weeks. Dude, I missed you, man. Dude, it's been too long. It's been too long. You know, I missed you. Fujimori-san, are you on the call? Dante, are you on the call? Nitro? Dave Nitro, are you on the call? I haven't seen all those names in a while. Actually, no, I did see Dante last week. Dante's from Ottawa. He lives in Montreal, though. All right, so Alex P is saying, hey, Chris, what languages other than English can help one get a leg up in the business world from your experience? Is there a language you want to learn? Keep in mind, I am fluent in Portuguese. Well, I think Portuguese is a great language to learn. It all depends where you want to work, right? And I don't know, like it's interesting because I made my flagship course, an entire MBA in one course in many different languages. And but I don't understand every region in the world as well as I should. And I'm ignorant and I make mistakes. So for example, I made my course, an entire MBA in one course in Hindi, and it hasn't sold at all. Yet 7% of my students are in India. And I learned that my students in India, they want to learn from me in English, not in Hindi, right? And there were subtitles. And to be honest, I butchered it too. Initially, okay, I'm such an idiot. What I did was I put all of the, and if you're from India, you're going to laugh at me, not with me, of course. What I did was I got all the transcriptions and I put all the captions on and the titles for the slides. And the beautiful Sanskrit writing, there's like T's all the way at the top. And I thought they made a mistake. And so I separated all the letters at the top so that none of the T's were touching at the top. And the feedback I got was very nice. They're like, Chris, this doesn't make sense. This is all gibberish. So we put it back together. And anyway, so for me, it's, I guess, Mandarin. I mean, it's by 2040, China's going to pass America in terms of the size of their GDP or gross domestic product, meaning their revenue for the whole country. So I would say Mandarin is great, is a great one to do. And I tried taking Mandarin when I lived in Ottawa as well, at the University of Ottawa. I took Mandarin, and dude, it's so hard. I think you're best off learning languages like that if you can while you're very, very young. If you learn a language when you're young, you'll never forget it. Like for me, when my dad immigrated from Egypt to Canada, he never taught me Arabic, although I can swear really well in Arabic. He never taught me Arabic because my mom, although my mom is half Lebanese, she doesn't. The other half is Scottish, Irish, whatever. She doesn't speak Arabic. But my parents and my dad thought it was important, you know, when I was born in Canada, for me to learn the culture and to learn French. And so I actually took. I didn't speak English in school until like the 4th grade. And my French isn't that great, but if you take it when you're really, really young, different languages, you'll never forget it. All right. Yeah, Akil is saying, what is face value and why is it always much, much smaller than the last traded price? You got to give me an example. If you're talking about bonds or stocks or what product, please. Thanks. Okay, and then I've got thanks for your course on Udemy. It was useful for me. It looks like that's Arabic. That's awesome. Thank you, thank you. I'm homesick now. I miss Arabic food. You know, my mom's falafel was so good that after eating it I didn't feel awful. Dad humor? Sorry, I'll stop there. Habibi. Jason saying, hey Chris, thanks for everything you do on Udemy and YouTube. My pleasure. Thank you. This is fun. What would be one investment banking textbook or book you recommend for someone looking to break into investment banking and or any type of tips for doing so? Yeah, so there's a great company that makes these guidebooks online for any sector, and I'm going to take you all there with me. Give me 1 second. We're going to go there together. It's called Vault Reports, and so if you want to learn about a company, or if you're looking to interview for a company, you can go here to vault.com. And so what you can do is you can actually buy investment banking documents here, or books, I should say, PDFs. Just invest in these. These are good investments. So finance interview, you can click here and it'll teach you how to interview with finance companies. You can also get books here that tell you all about the investment banks, each one individually. So let's say you want to work at, I don't know, Morgan Stanley. Then you can click here and there are books you can buy on Morgan Stanley here, and every major finance company. You can learn about what it's like working there as well. So this is kind of like, it'll tell you what it's like working at these companies, and you can buy special guides for different sectors. But what that website won't do is that website won't actually tell you, how to value a company. And there's some of the textbooks are really theoretical. You can read books by the author Damodaran, and he's a rock star professor at NYU. You can try that out. You can also just take my courses, and I'm not trying to sell something here, but I don't think there's any great book that tells you everything you need to know about investment banking. Take my complete financial analyst training courses, and I promise you'll be more than ready for your job in investment banking or interviews in investment banking. It'll help out tremendously, or your money back. All right. Thumbs up to you too, Andrew. Thanks, brother. All right. Rodrigo is saying, thanks for the answer, Chris. You're most welcome. I took your business plan course, and when it comes to cash flow for a startup, should I look for more investments just when the company goes negative? No. You always want to raise as much money as you can when you can. Strike while the iron's hot. Raising money is such a massive time suck, right? And a lot of people fail in business because they might work for somebody else, and while they work for somebody else, they might do skill X. And they think to themselves, I'm really good at skill X, so I'm going to start my own company doing skill X. Then they start their own company doing skill X, and they didn't realize how much of a time suck it is to manage a startup and raise money. And they fail because of that. So the traditional model is startups raise money every year or every other year. And every time they raise more money, it's called the A round, then the B round, then the C round, then the D round, then the IPO. I think if you can minimize the number of financing rounds that you have to go through, then your chances of success are much, much higher. Again, raising money can be a big time suck. Always raise as much money as you can when you can. And right now, the environment, the economy is good globally. No matter what anybody says, it's good. Don't believe the news. So right now, it's money chasing entrepreneurs. But eventually, it's going to be entrepreneurs chasing money again when the economic cycle turns. And it always does. Economic cycles are usually 10 years long. And when that occurs, then I really want you to focus on what you learn in this free book of mine on networking, as this will help you raise a lot of money. I promise you. It's free. Go to my website, harounventures.com, and you can download it if you haven't already. Yeah. All right. Next guy is Deaf Guy 319. It's been a while. How are you? Hey, Chris. I hope all is well. A lot of folks think that the market is going to crash since it's been running up for too long. What do you think about that, and what stocks typically crash the most? Yeah. So I never try and time markets. I remember I worked at a hedge fund called Pequot years ago, which I think was the biggest tech hedge fund on the planet many years ago. And I worked for this brilliant man named Art Sandberg. And I remember, I think it was '06. Yeah, it was '06. We were pitching home builder stocks to short, like KBH, Lennar, et cetera. Lennar, ticker LEN. And the thesis was that there is a bubble and all these home builders are going to crash. And he stopped us midway through the short pitch. And he said, son, I've been around long enough to understand never to stand in the way of insanity. All bubbles burst, all markets bottom, etc. You can't time the market. It's impossible. It is absolutely impossible. So I never think about market timing. I don't. I just invest in stocks I think are going to be more relevant in 5, 10, or 20 years. I'm a long-term investor. And, when the market pulls back, I get excited because everyone else is freaking out. And if everyone's freaking out, that's the best time to buy. You always want to be a contrarian and buy when there's blood in the streets. It's kind of a harsh term, but that's what people say on Wall Street. So in terms of what stocks will do poorly when the stock markets pulls back, it's anything speculative, anything expensive. Okay, really expensive cloud computing stocks will get murdered. They usually do. And if commodity prices drop, then stocks that are linked to commodities will drop as well. And then stocks that will go up or do well are anything affiliated with gold or just the ETF GLD. But you can buy ABX, which is a ticker for Barrick, big Canadian gold company. Newmont Mining, NEM, I think is a ticker. It's been a while. That sort of thing. So those stocks kind of are inversely related. And other stocks that will outperform include consumer staples like Campbell's Soup, CPB. Soup is good food. It has a high dividend yield, right? Are people still going to eat during recessions? Of course they are. And then anything with a high dividend yield that doesn't have credit issues will do well as well. Anything that's kind of counter-cyclical that's cheap. And you can always do a search on what Warren Buffett owns to find out what's cheap. But I still want you to do your own research as well. So in bear markets, value investments do well, or better, I should say, and growth investments do not do well. Next up is Travis. Hey, Travis. Hi, Chris. I'm planning to start a blog to learn about web design and growing an audience. Do you recommend having an LLC or a sole proprietorship, or should that wait until I'm able to monetize? I would talk to a real lawyer. Obviously, don't rely on me for legal advice, but I would wait. I would wait. I would wait. Wait until you're generating revenue. And if you're starting to generate a lot of revenue, then I want you to incorporate and set up an LLC or whatever legal structure your lawyer tells you to set up. And it will help you too, because if you're starting to make money from your blog, so to speak, and you buy a brand new MacBook Pro, then that should be a business expense, and you should be able to deduct that from your earnings, so you pay less in taxes. So obviously, talk to a tax accountant as well. But I would say that once you start generating meaningful revenue, then I would incorporate so you can get those tax deductions as well. And also so you can protect your family, because once you start making a lot of money, people will come after you. It is what it is. There was a company that was suing me. They dropped the lawsuit. If they're watching, by the way, sorry, I never do that. But and I've done really well, and that's why they came after me. But they had nothing, and I beat them. Yeah, sorry. I usually don't get like that, but I did beat them. But I promise you, it's like whenever you become successful in life, there's certain people in your life that are going to treat you a little bit differently. You'll find out who your real friends are. And then people are also going to come after you and sue you. And if you look at the annual report for any company, go to sec.gov and pull up the 10K for any company. If you do a search on the word lawsuit, a ton will come up. It's just what lawyers do, right? They're bloodsuckers. They'll when you're successful, they'll come after you. And don't take it personally, as well, I just did a minute ago. But try not to take it personally, because unjustified criticism is nothing more than a disguised compliment. So if people start criticizing you more now than when you were younger, and you happen to be a lot more successful now, it's because they're so insecure and they're jealous. And in your mind, you should say, thank you for that unjustified compliment. And then Jason saying, are you on a ketogenic diet? I don't know what that means. Sorry. I don't know what that means. What I've been doing lately actually is also this. So because my schedule is crazy and I try to make my own meals, I'm fully transparent. I'm going to show you what I do. It's really out there. Okay. What I do is I have all my groceries delivered to me every Sunday, including my kale and all the stuff I make my shake with. I also eat a little thing of organic fat-free yogurt every day with a bunch of almonds. It's a superfood. It's amazing. But what I also do is I get my meals delivered to me from thegoodkitchen.com. And it's farm to table in 3 minutes. It's actually great. So what you can do is you can get a bunch of meals and you can look at the caloric content. I always try to make sure there's not too much complex carbohydrates. And if there are carbohydrates, I make sure there's a lot of fiber, because if you take carbs minus fiber, then that's net carbs. And your body is tricked into believing you're consuming fewer calories or fewer carbohydrates, which makes you retain fat. So I'll get all this stuff delivered to me, all this stuff. And let me see if I can sign it. I can show you if this remembers my password. It might. And then it ships in a FedEx box every week. And yeah, now, and these are the categories you can choose if you want. But anyway, let me go to my account here. It's a bit pricey, but you got to think to yourself, what is your time worth? If it's going to take you an hour to cook something and you make $20 an hour, then you should probably buy something that's going to cost less than $20. Anyway, I could show you upcoming delivery. This one here. You rate the meals. Okay, yeah. So here's my last delivery. So this arrived in a box, which was cooled, chilled, $13 a meal. It's pricey, but think about how much money I'm saving because I'm working more hours, whatever. Yeah. So this I had barbacoa. I usually have less complex carbohydrates. I don't have many with rice, to be honest. Fajita chicken. I'm getting really sick of chicken now too. Jerk chicken. That sort of thing. So, and if you click on them, you can actually get the caloric content, right? So if I click on this here, what I can do is go down to nutrition, and I can see it here, right? So this seems like it's high in fiber because the squash 34 minus 8 means there's 26 net grams of fiber, which is of carbohydrates, which is actually very, very high. I didn't realize it was that high when I ordered it. This one here, no, it's not good. If we go to this guy here, chicken, right? And I don't mind eating fat. I don't mind at all. But look at the carbs here. 1 gram of carbohydrates. That's it. That's crazy. It's all protein and fat. That's what chicken wings are. That's what they are. That's what they are. So are chicken wings bad for you? No, because there's not much. Like when you go to a bar, like I don't drink or anything, but if you get fries, that's awful for you. You'll put on fat. But don't worry about getting wings. And for some reason, they bring it with blue cheese and I don't know why, but carrots and celery. I don't know how those go together, but it's actually not that bad for you. So anyway, this is what I do for my meals. And if it seems too pricey to you, and everybody's at different stages of their life. I'm older, or whatever. I'm an old man. But if you're studying hard for an exam, or let's say that, say exams, it's 1 week of hell every year, exams. Or you have a ridiculous deadline at work, then you could subscribe to this for just 1 week. It might cost you $100 per week or $13 per meal, whatever. But that 1 week can save you a lot of time, especially if you're preparing for an exam or a big speech at work, because one speech can change your life. All right. Oh, the Limitless guy was Bradley Cooper. Who did I say? Did I screw up? I said somebody else, right? Oh, I said Bradley Pitt. That's right. It's because I get confused because people always confuse me on the street. They'll either say, "Hey, there's Brad Pitt," or "There's Bradley Cooper." George Clooney? No, just kidding. All right, I got confused. The older I get, the better I was, dude. I just had a senior moment there. It happens. It happens. Like I'll be in the shower sometimes, and I'll be like, "Did I wash my hair yet? I think I did." Yeah. All right. But thanks, Def Guy. Appreciate it. Any advice for someone who's been practicing law for 8 years and is doing to get and wants to get out, but only has law skills under their belt? Yeah, and I'm so sorry if I made lawyer jokes and it insults anybody. That's not what I mean to do. There's a lot of good lawyers in the world, meaning the ones that represent me, and civil rights lawyers too. So one thing I'll say is this. The one great thing about getting a law degree is you certainly understand contracts. And when you start your own company, there are so many contracts and you get a lawyer to read them, whatever. So, I mean, that will help you a lot. But I have a lot of friends that work in investment banking that went to law school, but they never practiced law. I mean, having law as a background is actually not a bad thing when it comes to contracts. So I don't know. Like you got to tell me, Deaf Guy 319, what you're passionate about, and then I can help you. But there's a lot of lawyers that started out as lawyers, and like Geraldo, I think his name is Geraldo Rivera, then became talk show hosts and just went on to do bigger and better things for themselves. But I think that a law degree is probably better than just a general undergraduate arts degree. And I know a law degree is kind of a master's, LLC or JD in some countries. But you got to tell me you're passionate about it, and then I can better answer the question for you. And I think that education, it doesn't matter what education you have or lack thereof. If you just network like crazy, you can get that job of your dreams. Yeah. So, yeah. And when I hire people, I never look to see what degree they have. I couldn't give a damn. I just want to see what's inside, what's in their heart. And when I'm interviewing them, are they passionate about what they're doing or not? And if they see it as a job, I don't hire them. You always want to know what you're passionate about. Rafay, I worked with a guy actually at Goldman named Rafay Faruqi, really nice guy. He's Pakistani. And then his cousin, Danyal, with 2 A's, Danyal Faruqi, was my intern at Pequot. And this guy came from kind of a tough background. And then I'm pleased to say, like everyone that's ever worked for me, he's better off than I am. He went to Harvard Business School. Now he works at Capital. Really good guy. Okay. Hi, Chris. Hope you're fine. Rafay is saying, sir, please call me Chris. I've messaged you on Udemy. Can you please take a look at it when you are free? Ask me right here if you can, please. I'm so inundated with messages. It's just tough for me. And I can dedicate more customized time for you right here on this call. That's what I recommend. And if anybody sent me LinkedIn messages and I haven't responded, I'm so sorry. I can't keep up anymore. I'm drinking water out of a fire hose. That's why I do this call. This call is for you. And if you take my MBA degree program, obviously there's going to be a lot more one-on-one time as well. Yeah, like on the phone, Skype calls, that sort of thing, if you want. Yeah. All right. Andrew's saying ribs and chicken from Swiss Chalet for today's 4th. Oh, dude, I love that. Oh, my God. So Swiss Chalet, dude, you got to get, here's what I do. I would get those little sandwiches, and you can get the gravy in those little containers, which are about the size of these circle things here. And their fries are amazing. Swiss Chalet fries are off the charts. I love it. I used to get that right by Air Mills Town Center in Mississauga, actually. But I'm jealous, man. I'm jealous. It's awesome. So the question is, what I think of Beyond Burger products. I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming that's some sort of artificial meat. I am bullish on the sector, and I used to be an investor in venture capital, and I sold my stake now in a company called Modern Meadow, which is this father and son team who had a great exit. They sold a company called Organovo for over $1 billion. But it's this father and son team that make fake leather and fake meat, and they grow it in a petri dish. I know it sounds crazy, but I think it's only a matter of time until people think that having leather products is it's not politically correct. And I'm not a PC guy, whatever, right? I'm respectful of everybody. But I remember when I was a kid in Canada walking down Yonge Street with my mom. And Yonge Street is the longest street in the world. It's in Toronto. And I remember people had red paint and they wanted to throw it on my mom. And I said, Mom, why do they want to throw red paint on you? And she said, because I'm wearing a fur coat. And those people are called PETA, which something about fair treatment of animals, protecting ethical treatment of animals, PETA. And I agree with them. But I think that having leather is also going to be like that, real leather in the future. And because what happens is when leather is dehydrated from cows, in Argentina and other countries, everywhere actually. Argentina has a massive cow population, and they have great beef there too. I love it. But what happens is it's a very expensive process where they burn off the hair in a chemical process, which is awful for the environment. It takes about 3 weeks. And then what they do is they obviously they go through the whole process of selling that product, but it takes hundreds of acres to grow a single cow, so to speak. And it's bad for the environment for other reasons. And so Modern Meadow grew leather in a petri dish. And it's kind of like that movie Jurassic Park. If you had a couple cells or DNA from a mosquito, which had T-Rex blood in it, embedded in sap, you can grow any type of leather you want. And it'd be pretty badass to have an iPhone case made out of T-Rex leather. And the leather they grow is also perfect, right? It's genetically re-engineered slightly to the extent that there's no hair in it to destroy the leather. So I think that's going to be a massive market in the future. And I think that the Chinese government is very interested in this as well, because the biggest crisis that China is going to face is a food shortage at some point. And the Chinese government, they say that Chinese capitalists are the best, or Chinese communists are the best capitalists. They're thinking longer term, 30, 50 years out. They're long-term investors, which is smart. And they're focused on building their internal economy instead of relying on the American consumer to sell stuff. But I think what's going to happen is there's going to be, like Tiananmen Square's riots were nothing compared to what could be coming if China ever has a food shortage. And what's happening is a lot of people in China, as they enter the middle class, they move to cities. And the first thing they do is they buy more beef products. Second thing they do is they buy an appliance. And if there's a shortage of beef products in China, or food for that matter, at any point, then I think that could lead to massive civil unrest, which would really be a gazillion times bigger than what happened with Tiananmen Square back in the late 80s. And so I think the Chinese government is going to get very, very interested in companies like Modern Meadow, which I'm no longer an investor in. I sold my position, as well as artificial meat-based companies. It's not organic, obviously, but I think it's a market that's going to be more relevant longer term. And I always ask myself before I invest in any company while I'm doing research, is this company going to be more relevant or less relevant in 5 years? Well, obviously more relevant. So I'm very bullish on that sector. Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate it. Craig is in the house. How are you? Craig, I want some awesome tidbits from you this week, man. You always provide really cool stuff. So several months ago, Craig told me, like, I went like this, right? And then I went like this, sorry, England, right? Because in England, that means, something like peace, but that's your half, but the rude way. Craig told me that the reason this is rude in England is because in ancient times, if you went to war with bow and arrows, that's kind of like saying, I'm going to get you sort of thing. But Craig's always got interesting tidbits. Good day, Chris. Gooder day to you, Craig. Family, well, I pray. Yeah, everything is great. We're good, thank you. We're good. Life is perfect. Too perfect. Yeah. I like the colors. The table is a bit sparse. Did you consider any personal effect or is it a personal preference having a clear table? Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I usually have more stuff on the table. I actually had... I'm in the middle of teaching a course, and the course is the complete video course, which my MBA students will get for free. But as part of the course, I had all these cameras on the table here, and these here, I'll show you guys. You guys have probably heard of the term mirrorless camera, right? All right, so I'm going to show you what that means really quickly, really quickly. Okay, so people, the biggest craze now in videography and photography is mirrorless cameras. Let me try and space this out here. So these cameras here are not mirrorless. Okay, this is a Canon Mark III. Okay, or and there's mirrors in them. Okay, so if you look closely, it's kind of tough to see, but there's a mirror there so that you can see what's in the viewfinder. Okay, and what happens is when you take a picture, see what happens. Oh, do I have the the batteries? Okay, yeah. Okay, there you go. See that? Watch this. When you take a picture, what happens is this. That mirror flips out of the way for a split second. Okay, and then what happens is the shutter opens up, and the picture or video is burned directly onto the image sensor. Okay, now these cameras here are smaller, they're lighter, but they're very powerful still. And these cameras here on the bottom are mirrorless cameras. And what happened was these tech companies, Japanese companies, came up with this amazing way of making cameras without mirrors. And because of that, they're a lot smaller. But if you look closely, there's no mirror here. Whoops, there we go, here. But now one thing I want to show you is before you buy a camera, you see the square, the rectangle in there? I want you to get one with the biggest rectangle possible on the inside, because that means the image sensor is big. And a big image sensor takes great pictures and great videos. This is a smaller image sensor. So this is a full frame image sensor, meaning it's the size of a 35 millimeter little piece of film. This is also a full framed image sensor. Don't do what I'm doing ever, please. But I'm going to show you the image sensor under there. Okay. Anyways, right behind the shutter. And this here is a small image sensor. So these two on the top, these are full framed image sensor cameras. Okay, bigger image sensor, which is kind of like the effect is kind of like your eye. So these cameras here have big eyes. These cameras here have smaller eyes. That's how you think of image sensors. So always buy the camera with a full frame image sensor, meaning a bigger image sensor, instead of buying ones with smaller image sensors like these ones here. Okay. And if anybody has additional questions about that stuff, please let me know. But the reason I'm showing you this is just because my desk was completely full of these cameras last night when I was recording this session. I figured, you know what, dude, I'm gonna try something different. Just get rid of everything here on the table, which is not normal for me. Yeah. And if anybody has questions about these cameras or any cameras for that matter, or old cameras, that sort of thing, let me know. You know, this was one of the first cameras ever made. Okay, I got on eBay, dirt cheap for parts, and it had two lenses, right? And you've probably seen these, right, at photo day when you're younger, if you're as old as I am. And there's two lenses, and the first thing you look into, that is for the viewfinder. There's a mirror, so you can see what you're about to take a picture of. And the second one here is actually, this is what is used to burn onto the film inside the camera. So there's two lenses. It's called dual lens. Then what happened was the technology advanced to the extent that you didn't have to have dual lenses anymore. This camera came out in 1966 from Canon. It's a beauty. And this thing had a single lens and had a reflex item of the mirror reflexing up. So this is a single lens reflex camera, not a dual lens. Single lens reflex, or SLR. These guys here are dual lens reflex, okay? Digital single lens reflex, because they're digital, DSLR. And these ones here are mirrorless because they don't have anything that reflexes. All right, so anyway, that's a little bit of background there if you care on cameras and videography. And if you have questions about this stuff, please let me know. It's something I'm passionate about, and it's something I'm teaching a course about right now. And I think that in order to be very successful in business, you have to know how to use these things for social media reasons. And everybody that's taking my courses will be creating video content as well, even if you just have an iPhone or Android handset. And I'm going to teach you how to vlog and create content like a rock star and have awesome backdrops as well. Little sinister with the curtains there. I didn't mean for it to look like that. But anyway, if you have questions about this setup here or cameras, please let me know. And thanks as always. All right. Oh, dude, Avi Pro. I see you on the call. Avi Pro is our buddy. He's very good at technology stuff. He talked about Linux and Unix in one call several months ago. He's from Sweden, I think, right? I haven't seen you on the call in ages, and I see you got the pilot icon there. I missed you, man. Welcome back. Welcome back. All right. Jason is now saying, can you describe your career path from undergraduate to now and what led to any career changes? Yeah. So I've always been passionate about technology and finance. And so I started out my career out of undergrad. I actually went to go work at Accenture, and I was in the financial services division as a programmer. It was fun. I loved it. Then after 4 years, I stopped learning. I got bored, and I wanted more. And I wanted to work on Wall Street, but I didn't know how to network. And so I thought, well, in order to make a career change, I have to go to business school, which is not the case. You know, had I known then what I know now, I would not have gotten an MBA, and I would just network like crazy to find the job of my dreams. And you can get this book on my website for free, as y'all know. And so I did an MBA at Columbia, and I remember when I that's in New York. I remember when I got in, my mom was worried. She was like, "Oh, honey, South America is too far away. I don't want you going to study business there." I said, "Don't worry, it's New York." And then after that, I went to go work at Goldman Sachs. And I actually, during business school, I interned at Goldman as well. They were great. They helped me a lot. They were amazing. And then I went to work at Goldman on Wall Street. And I wasn't making enough money. And it's ridiculous. I don't know why I even thought that. The cancer of Wall Street is you always want to make more than everybody else. And the cancer of Wall Street is you're depressed every Christmas bonus season because people make more than you. It's ridiculous, you know. And the Dalai Lama wrote that book, which everybody should read, called The Art of Happiness, where he said, you know, the problem with Western society is we sacrifice our health our entire lives in order to make money. Then at the end of our lives, we sacrifice all of our money in order to maintain our health. And then we look back and we realize we never really lived to begin with. So I wasn't making enough, I thought. Stupid. So I went to a top hedge fund called Kingdon. And then I wasn't making enough there in New York. And so a massive hedge fund called Citadel recruited me with a big signing bonus and everything, whatever. Wasn't making enough there. And so I started my own hedge fund, started my own venture capital firm. Wasn't making enough. And I thought, dude, what is it with me? You know, like I thought maybe I was depressed because I was short-term focused, and hedge funds are short-term focused and you're fooled by randomness. So I went into venture capital and I did great. You know, I invested in Facebook when it was private. So did every other VC company though in the world. And I was a bit happier, but something was missing. And I thought maybe I'm clinically depressed. I don't know. And then I started, I always like to help people, always. And what would happen is every company I've worked at, I've always done fine, whatever. I've beaten quota and all that stuff. But my boss would always have a very tough conversation, tough for them, where we'd sit down. And I love most of the people I ever worked for, most of them. And they would say, Chris, you're doing a great job, but maybe there's a way that you could spend a little bit less time helping other people at the company and just focusing on producing more. And I never listened to them. I just wanted to help people. You know, I wanted to, you know, help people, you know, get better jobs. I wanted to help people, you know, make more money, help people just be happier. I just want to help people. You know, and my dad would always say to me, he's like, you know, Chris, you should have been a doctor like your brother and I, because you like helping people. I'm like, yeah, Dad, I love you, but I'm not passionate about, you know, about blood and stuff and hospital stuff. And so what happened was there was this guy reached out to me. His name is Vasily, and he was a student at San Francisco State. And this is while I was working in venture capital. And he said, we have a panel. Do you want to come? And I thought, I've never been on a panel before. I've never done it before. I'm kind of nervous, but screw it, I'll do it. And I went in the panel. It was fun. And there was a professor there named Professor Herb Mayberger. And he liked the stuff I had to say. He's a good dude. He's kind of like a mentor to me. Great professor. And he introduced me to the dean of a school called the Halt International School of Business. And they said, why don't you teach a class here? And I was like, well, I've never taught before. And so I taught a class there. And I taught a bunch more classes there just during the evenings. It was fun for me. I like San Francisco State a little bit more, though, because I like... There was a lot of wealthy students at San Francisco State, but my favorite ones were the ones that were poor, smart, and hungry. Okay, that's what I'll say about State. You can read between the lines with other... Whatever, I'm not going to go there. I think you know what I'm getting at. And then I got voted Finance Professor of the Year at the Halt International School of Business. And I loved it. I loved teaching. I loved helping people. And I would teach also during the evenings and the weekends for free. It wasn't about the money for me. I just loved it. I would teach in East Palo Alto at the Limo Foundation. In East Palo Alto, the high school graduation rate is 40%. It's really unfortunate because there's a lot of deadbeat fathers. I don't think there's such thing as a deadbeat mother. And so I was doing that, and it was just fun for me to help. I wanted to give back. And I felt like, you know what, man, I'm not getting paid, obviously, but I don't care. It's kind of fun for me. And one Saturday in January, I put up, or I went to teach these poor kids from the Limo Foundation. They were between the ages of God, I think it was 9 and 17. And if you go to my website, you can click to charity stuff and see pictures of me with them all. And what I did was I created degrees for them. And I taught them in one day. And I called that day in 12 hours, an entire MBA in one day. And I made degrees and I paid for them myself. I want to show you those degrees. Hold on one second. I'm so sorry if I'm getting a little bit off script here, but I'm really proud of that. I made these degrees. And this is actually the crux for why I'm doing this MBA degree program. So if we go here to, let's go here. We'll go to Haroun Ventures. And if you scroll down, ignore all the propaganda selling stuff. I don't know. Speaking requests or books, it's in here somewhere. Wrigley, if you're on the call, let me know where it is. Charity's here somewhere, but there's a bunch of. Oh, here it is. Here, sorry. One of my students started providing opportunities for women at San Francisco State. There's Limo Foundation. Okay, here it is. Here. All right, here is that's just me providing opportunities for women students to go to you. Here it is. Here. Okay, these are me. This is me, and these are the degrees I made for these students. Right, and there's the book I gave them as well. That's me a couple of years ago, and this was on a Saturday. And here's all the degrees, and I just felt really good, helping these kids out. That's me at some other event, whatever. And then so what I did was I thought to myself, you know what, dude, this is awesome. And then 2 days later after that event, I put up, or 1 day later, I put up a camera at home and. I put it in to record the course, an entire MBA in one course. And I put it in my bedroom. And my wife saw the camera and she said, honey, that's not happening. And I said, no, you don't understand. It's for a course. Just kidding about that, of course. Problem with these webcasts is it's live. It's with me forever. I'm one dumb comment away from ruining my life. And then Udemy put it on, and then Business Insider wrote about it, and it took off. But it was never about money for me. It was about just helping people. Kind of like this weekly call. This is week number 46 right now. And we've done a couple 100 hours of these calls, free calls, whatever. It's not about money. If it was about money, then I would have spent those 200 hours, writing more content to sell more courses. It's not about the money, ever. And if I can empower you, empower the empowerers, so to speak, empower you all to kind of figure out what you're most passionate about in life so you can live life in your own terms, and then I've done my job. And again, it's not about money. And even this MBA degree program, I'm going to lose a ton of money on it, but I don't care. I just want, it's not about money. The second it becomes about money is the second you guys should all just say, I'm never learning from Haroun again, and go learn from somebody else. So that's kind of my long-winded story of how I got to where I am right now. And I don't have a job. I have a passion for the first time in my life. It's been fun. It's been fun. And if I can humbly help all of you to find your passion as well, so you can work for yourself and live your life in your own terms, please let me know, and thank you. All right. All right. Craig said, I recently read that speaking in our native tongue limits our logic to emotional responses. Whereas speaking in a foreign language, we are compelled to use logic to communicate. That's fascinating. Because like English, for example, I never really learned the logic of English. And people that learn English say that it's so hard because there's so many exceptions and the logic is tough to grasp. But I think that if you're mathematically inclined, you can learn other languages and do well because you kind of understand formulaic responses and just how to apply rules and stuff. That's interesting though. And by the way, the way you know if you're truly bilingual is if you dream and you dream in a language that's not your mother tongue. Oh, you're most welcome, Akil. Avi Pro, here we go. Hi, Chris. Hope all is well on the 4th of July. Been hectic for me, so I've missed some webcasts the last weeks. No worries at all, brother. I'm just glad to have you back, man. Okay, and then Elliot is saying, Chris, awesome office. Thank you. Thank you. It's a little different, eh? A little different. I had a lot of fun putting this together. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. All right, next up, Avi Pro. It's so good to come back. Hell yeah. And being able to be online and listen to you. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm glad to have you back too, man. When are you coming to Europe? And if your schedule will allow, it would be great to meet up in Sweden when you're over here. Yeah, so I'm actually going to Berlin in October. And if anybody's interested in meeting me then, I'm going a couple days early for a conference. You can go to I don't know if people say www anymore, but you can go to udemylive.com to see the dates, and I'll be there. And I'm actually going to do this webcast there. I got a high speed hotel room, whatever, and I might do it in the conference center there, and maybe I can have people join me. It might be fun. I haven't been to Sweden in years. I went to Stockholm during business school with a bunch of buddies, and dude, I can't believe how good looking people are in Sweden. Like it's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. It's amazing. It's amazing. All right. Next up is Elliot is asking, am I investing in any startups right now? Not at the moment. Not at the moment. I mean, my website says EdTech VC. If I see an amazing education tech-based company, I might invest, but as long as it's not my students, because I don't want there to be a conflict of interest. Yeah. And Craig is saying, I can't remember. Oh, I just lost my spot. Here, Craig is saying, I can't remember who said it. The markets are the only place people sell when the price is discounted. Yeah. Yeah, that's Warren Buffett. Yeah, Warren Buffett said the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. And I guess, and he didn't say this one. This was interesting. He said, the stock market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. That's why I want you to be long-term focused. Okay. And Melody in the house. How are you? Melody saying happy 4th of July and happy belated Canada Day. Thank you, Melody. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing your course on Udemy soon. And Patrick, too, if you're still on the call here. Thank you. Okay, Avi Pro saying another good source for a good diet is Diet Doctor. I read that at first. And I thought I wrote D, which is Die Doctor. D means the in German. Diet Doctor. Thank you for that. All right, I just opened it up. I'll check it out later. Thank you. Oh, keto. Somebody mentioned keto diet before. I guess that's low carbs as well. Okay, thank you. Travis, what up, Travis? Travis is saying, thanks for doing this in the holiday. My pleasure. This is fun. This is fun. I try to catch each daily vlog, but I miss these because of work. Looking forward to the next one on Thanksgiving. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And by the way, Americans are smart when it comes to Thanksgiving. See, in Canada, we have Thanksgiving Monday, right? In America, they have Thanksgiving on a Thursday, which means that Friday is a wash. Like, no one goes to work on the Friday. It's smart. Actually, they call that Black Friday. And the reason they call it Black Friday is because retail companies in America are in the red. They lose money all year until the third week of November on that Friday, Black Friday. They then go into the black. That's why they call it Black Friday. Retail's a tough gig. Don't ever go into retail. Don't ever do anything that competes with Amazon or Walmart. And Dat Tran, hey Dad, how are you? So Dad is our Vietnamese buddy that's in Vancouver on exchange right now, who also took the Dale Carnegie training course. Good to have you back. So Dad is saying, hi Chris, a long time no see. I still learn a lot from your course. Have a nice day. Thanks. And happy belated Canada Day to you there too in Canada. Thank you. All right, and then RVC, are you on the call? RVC is my sister, so to speak, from Vancouver. All right, and Cyan is saying, Chris, thanks for the interesting conversation. Do you think that the dollar can crash or be devalued in terms of precious metals coming through another round of QE, which stands for quantitative easing, or Fed rate cuts? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that the U.S. dollar is, and I vlogged about this the other day, is a flight to quality. So if things get really, really bad in the global economy, the U.S. dollar gets stronger. And the reason it does, and it is what it is, but the last corporation, so to speak, or government to go bankrupt is the United States, and China as well, I guess now as well. And China and the U.S. are joined at the hip. That's why China has to keep buying American bonds. So I think that whenever the global economy gets worse, people sell their own currencies and they buy U.S. dollars, which makes the U.S. dollar go up. So I think the U.S. dollar is a flight to quality. I think it's a loser investment. I think any paper-based currency is a loser investment. Any fiat currency is a loser investment because you and I can't control how much supply governments are going to print of that stuff. So don't ever sit on cash unless you want to have a little bit of dry powder to buy stocks pulling back. But cash is the worst investment you can possibly make. But I think the U.S. dollar will not crash, and I think it's a flight to quality, relatively speaking. And you can watch a vlog on that for more details. Just go to YouTube and go to my vlog and just do a search, and you'll see U.S. dollar. All right. And Melody is saying, I'm taking the MBA course. Thank you. It is amazing. Thank you. I'm loving how you have quizzes at the end of each section. Thanks. No, I appreciate that. And actually, the side notes that I have were actually, people don't realize this, but a couple of them came from this book as well of mine, 101 Crucial Lessons They Don't Teach You in Business School. Thank you. Thank you for that too, Melody. Appreciate it. And Avi Proof, thank you. Melody is saying, should I put a disclosure on my course? Since this is for students that are struggling, special needs, and ESOL students, I thought I might have to do this, but I don't want to seem impersonal. You know, some people do it. Like sometimes I'll put registered trademark or copyright in some places. I rarely do that, but I recommend speaking with a lawyer first. I'm not an expert in the area. But if your course does really well in Udemy, what Udemy does, Udemy is awesome. And I don't get comped for ever plugging them, whatever. But what they do is, if people pirate my course, they shut them down, which is amazing. Okay. When I say shut them down, meaning their lawyers go online and help to make that not happen. All right. And Melody is saying, I like to smile. I'm a person that is just full of joy. I can tell. I know that. Since I'm taking on a leadership role, is this a trait that I need to do less? You mean smiling? Hell no, man. Just be you. Just be happy you. And I learned from Alexa Fisher. I gave a presentation with her a year or two ago at Udemy on how to teach online. And Alexa Fisher is, you might have seen her on TV. She was in CSI and a bunch of TV shows. She teaches on Udemy, and she said that when you teach online and you look into a camera, and I don't do this, but if you don't smile enough, you put a little post-it note right by the camera there, right beside it, so your students can't see it, of a little smiley face. And if you get a chance, everybody in the call, get a pen and draw a smiley face and watch what happens to your face. You will smile as you draw that smile. It's interesting. So stay positive always. Yeah. You're most welcome, Jason. Oh, Avi Pro is saying, okay, I can be in Berlin in October as I do flight simulator training sessions there. So maybe I can schedule some when you're there. Absolutely, dude. We'd love to see you. Love to meet you in real person, in real life. Yeah, definitely go to udemylive.com and find out what dates the event is. And maybe a day or two or a couple days before the event, we can sit down together. Yeah. Definitely. Perfect. And then Melody is saying, I thought about making a documentary on myself for weight loss. I'm actually prepping for this keto diet. Do you think anyone would be interested in this? I just want to help inspire others. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that, Melody. I love that idea. What I did actually was I released a vlog on April 29th this year, around that time, which was me in high speed mode in my garage setting up a gym. And what I did was I said, I'm going to gain 15 or 20 pounds of muscle in 1 year. And then I'm going to teach you how I did it. And then I went like this to give a fist pump to nobody there, but I'm going to superimpose myself when I'm bigger, by April. So I put on a little bit. It'll be mostly upper body, whatever. But now that I said it, I have to make it happen, right? Yeah. Yes. Continue to smile. Always be you. Always be you. And I'm thinking of that song by Sting from Nothing Like the Sun, one of his best albums. His song An Englishman in New York, where he said it takes a man to suffer ignorance and smile. Be yourself no matter what they say. On that note, and there's no more questions, I want to thank you all for your time today. Happy July 4th for those in America. Happy July 1st belated for those in Canada. If you subscribe to my daily vlog, then I will see you mañana on my vlog. Otherwise, I will see you next Thursday at the same time. And God bless and have a wonderful weekend. And thanks as always.